Anyway, long story short, guys, don't sleep very well. 4 o'clock in the morning, get dropped a video, and I get dropped one of these videos here of Daralene Jones, and it's part 1. Well, I actually started listening to part 2. And if I remember rightly, if I go up to part 2, I think it's about here. Let's have a listen, see what we can hear.
Well, no, I want to back up, because at some point you sought counsel or maybe had a conversation with the very high profile attorney here in town. How and why did that start?
That actually started in mid-September of 25.
So I'm going to be really frank here, guys. Christopher here has an opportunity to be in front of the media. And in this moment here, he is trying to insinuate that there's a high-profile attorney called Mark James. And he's insinuating, even though he got independent advice about the price that he paid for the building, that he was like held hostage of some sort, and he overpaid for this building. But then in his own admission, he also admits that he got independent advice and paid market value for these buildings. Now, I do know about Mark and James, and I'm on nobody's camp. Now, there was a guy called Jonathan Mason who was telling everyone that Mark had bankrolled me into this investigation of Goliath Ventures. Mark was not the person that told me about Goliath Ventures. So Christopher here, even after all this, obviously has a problem with Runway to Hope. He also has a problem with Mark James. And I've spoken to Mark. Mark has only been anything but helpful with all my investigation. I asked him questions. He told me, here's this wee saying. He says, the fastest thing to the truth is a straight line. So he said, if he always said, if I can tell you, I'll tell you. If I can't, I won't. And I could ask him any question that he would ask me. He was very helpful. Now, Christopher here is looking to blame somebody. He's pleaded his heart out here and said he's sorry. Now, this guy has 12 sports cars, 18 Rolex watches, 8 properties, I believe. He's bought his family vehicles. He spent the money like it's bloody water. Everyone's money has spent. He even tried to bribe me to pay $150,000 so I'd hand over who was bankrolling me. Obviously, we refused. Then he come back to staked out my neighborhood with his private investigators, found out where I lived, knocked on my door and wanted to offer me a better deal. Now, I said, I'm only going to listen to this deal if I can record it. And they wouldn't let me record it, so I yelled at them and walked them off my property. And I videoed all that. Now, I'm not going to put that because unfortunately you can see where I live. So I will put that online one day with blurred out backgrounds when I get around to it. But in the meantime, a lot's happened since then. So even now, FWTV has given Christopher an avenue or a way to actually speak, and still trying to throw this guy Mark under the bus, which is okay. And this isn't what this whole 5.5 hours is all about. But he's still insinuating that he got a held blackmail. Now, I don't know the story because I weren't there. I know nothing. But to me, he even contradicts himself in these statements. So first of all, he talks about Mark and Runway to Hope. So let's just have a listen to this. And this is about the only 5 minutes that really have anything to do with me, but I still want to play it.
Right after my birthday.
The
things were happening online.
That's me.
Wait, you mean 24?
No, 25. It was when I was seeking counsel.
September.
I'm talking about Mark James.
Oh, that.
And I think this is why they did the interview, because he wanted to throw Mark under the bus.
Mark came into my life at a very interesting time. Maybe 22. I think 22, was my first time going to Runway to Hope.
Mark has actually said to me that he asked Christopher for the books. Christopher wouldn't show him the books, so Mark was out. And of course, they must have had some sort of, like everyone in Orlando, so many people were involved with Goliath Ventures. And Mark had a building for sale. He knew He knew everybody about town. He's the man about town, Mark. So there's no doubt that everyone knows everyone in Orlando. And if you were selling a building and somebody who's got the money wants to come along and buy it, wouldn't you sell it to them? And yeah, he probably got a little bit involved. But I know that at one stage he asked Christopher for the books and Christopher wouldn't do it. So I don't want anything to do with it anymore.
We had friends, their kid had cancer, and we were supporting them. And, we gave generously, in what
we gave generously. You gave investors money to charities to build credibility about Goliath Ventures. That's not we. That's not you. It's not your money that you gave away, Chris.
We could. I think it was maybe 10 grand or, a couple grand we gave.
He wouldn't have any idea what he did with the money. He even gave his hairdresser $3,000 once. That's not a $3,000 haircut, Chris. You just gave away everyone's money.
23 came by, and that's when the spending got bigger with me. That's when we were really engaged with Run Rate of Hope. We grew closer with our friends.
There was 15 other charities mentioned on the website. And this is a witch hunt, I reckon. This is a personal vendetta. And the fact that FWTV think this is actually news, or the fact that, why else would they put 5.5 hours worth of videos on the internet? It is, and in here they criticize me and the amount of views that I have on these videos. Well, I was on CoffeeZilla's videos. Now let's just have a wee look at CoffeeZilla's videos just to see how well that went in comparison. Now,
the creator of My Liquidity Partners, who allegedly...
CoffeeZilla is the unsung hero here. Now, so far, this video, it says a month ago, 4.1 million views on this here video. This is independent journalist. CoffeeZilla flew me to Texas. He picked me up. He paid for my accommodation. He paid for my food and my transportation to get a real interview on the internet. That he interviewed and told the truth. Channel 9 News, which I do believe there's people in Channel 9 News that had invested in Goliath Ventures. I have been privy to sitting in the same room with somebody talking to somebody in Channel 9 News. Now, am I correct that FWTV is Channel 9 News? Well, have I got that wrong? It is Channel 9 News. So I know that people in Channel 9 News, and if you look in the proof of claims, you may find a name. I know that people associated or connection, that everyone in Orlando is connected. There's somebody in Channel 9 News. I spoke to somebody on the phone for 45 minutes from Channel 9 News when I was in Orlando, asking them to interview me. I was interviewed by Fox 35 News, and I was also, who else did I talk to? Channel 9 News, Fox 35, and there was my brains. I haven't slept all night, basically. So they didn't want to tell my story. And I believe that the people I spoke to were either invested or somebody in Channel 9 News were invested, because the person I spoke to didn't want to take on the story. Now, I don't know. I can't allege anything because I don't want people, but these guys, everyone's hiding something. Everyone's connected. Every time we've got over 350 different names on our persons of interest list. Every single person we speak to have got some connection that they're not too proud of, some association that they're not too proud of. And I believe that somebody in Channel 9, because this isn't media. And when I see Christopher sitting here, talking about a lawyer who sold him a building and insinuating that he paid more than market value, and then the very next thing that comes out of his mouth is that they had an independent real estate agent look at it and say that's the fair value. And it all adds up. Everything adds up. Even my investigation skills hasn't seen anything strange about what happened, other than Christopher has been put in the spotlight for 5.5 hours now, basically trying to control the narrative. And, a lot of people feel sad watching him. And I think this is disgusting. And I will speak up. I think this guy is the bottom feeder. This is the low lives on the planet. This is a person that has stolen investors' money, spent it like water, had no respect for anyone's money whatsoever, and then given a voice. So what? Okay, Darlene Jones, you got to interview Christopher. You got to be in his house for over 9 weeks, as you said. And then he gets to sit here and still control the narrative. This is not journalism. And it friggin' upsets me. And if I'm not a real journalist, then I broke this case. I stopped Goliath Ventures from taking more money from people. And if I'm on the bottom of the planet in New Zealand and I can do it, what's happened to real journalism these days? So let's listen to Chris carry on. Let me talk about the moment where I got the recognition for hours and hours of work. My team of Avengers, we worked around the clock to expose this. We went to Homeland Security, rang up a guy called John, you might know him, Christopher. And then they realised how big a scam it was. At one point, we had 14 individuals working on this case in governments. You know, we had meetings with the CFTC, Homeland Security, the FBI were involved. We had to find people because the FBI agents that we were connected to, we had to find somebody that had invested in Goliath Ventures that was in just out of Washington, D.C. I've got the state. But anyway, and then we did everything. We found it so that person had the jurisdiction to go after Christopher. And I tell you what, Punit, sure, you did serve a purpose because your real estate license, New Jersey, I think it was New Jersey. So I had to find somebody in New Jersey that had invested or had some involvement with Goliath Ventures. And Punit, sure, your real estate agent license that you have covers New Jersey, which means that we had jurisdiction to do this investigation. And that's the truth of it. Whether I get the recognition for it, I don't really care. But the fact is, my team, my mighty team of Avengers who investigate this stuff day in and day out, like today I'm meant to be doing another expose on another individual that's promoted. We just do this all the time. And it's bloody exhausting sometimes. But it's rewarding when you know you stop these lowlifes.
You know, child had cancer and
oh dear, Chris has got a friend that's child's got cancer and they gave him $10,000. I mean, that is a compelling story, Christopher. But are you trying to get a connection going there with the audience? Are we feeling sorry for you? You know, what about the detrimental effects of you stealing over 2,000 people's money and doing nothing with it? I mean, claiming that you were white labeling NLP's scam. So I bust scams all day long. We do this. And he was investing Goliath Ventures money into NLP. So basically using another scam that was paying out stupid 10% per month returns to feed the returns that he was claiming he was doing as Goliath Ventures. I mean, that is just fraud.
Because the organization helped their kids so much and they were close friends of ours, we wanted to be part of that community.
He was part of every community because that's how they grew Goliath Ventures. And that was why he was so good at schmoozing.
So after Runway to Hope in 2023, I told myself I'm going to get in contact with Mark. I want to be the title sponsor. I want to see their work and get involved more. And this is coming from a father who has 3 kids too, and I couldn't fathom.
2 of his own real kids, and he's got an adopted kid who are now going to watch their father in prison for the rest of his life.
Fighting for their life. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to give as much as I could. January 2020.
And I think it was about $300,000 over all the length of Goliath Ventures he donated to Runway of the Hope. And it's not even the biggest charity. I mean, they should be asking him about Patrick Bet-David, who got $1 million. And they should be asking him, why did he think it was necessary to spend $500,000 on merch for that event? But rather they pick on Runway of the Hope and the $300,000 that he received. Because there was another charity, I think it's Kids Beating Cancer or something. I think they got half a million. 500,000 or something like that. So it wasn't even the biggest charity, but this is obviously the one that's he couldn't, like if you knew everything I know, this is just disgusting. This shouldn't even be on the internet.
I'm getting ready for the gym. I'm at my house in Kings Point, and I look down, my phone's ringing, and it says Mark Nijame. And I'm like, perfect. I literally pick up the phone. I remember pick up the phone. I'm walking around my kitchen. And I'm like, hey, Mark. I'm like, I'm glad you called. I've actually been meaning to get in contact with you. And he goes, hey, Chris, I'm calling because I'm hearing rumors around town. And I think you're under investigation.
Here we go.
And my heart sunk.
Oh, really? Did your heart really sink, Chris? Did you really think that you're just going to carry on doing this? You think you're under investigation, right? And at this time, I did not have any connection with Mark Najiv's at all. And I want to be 100% clear that I'm always transparent in everything I do. Unless the only time I won't talk about somebody is when somebody asks me to keep them obviously anonymous. But yeah, so at this time I knew nothing about Mark and his involvement other than I did contact a whole lot of charities at the time telling them to be cautious of dealing with Goliath Ventures because of what we had uncovered with their own contract.
What I found out was people weren't talking about my company. I was the new hot thing on the block.
He's like a hot shit.
I was the one getting all the attention. All these guys that were it in Orlando were going to London House, and whether they're cheating on their wives or they were getting...
How do you think Chris is going to get on in prison? He's just dobbed in everybody. He's got, the only thing he claims that's special in his life is his family. And if that was true, you wouldn't have trashed yourself and everything. Well, you wouldn't have done what you've done if you really did care about your family, who's now going to have no dad.
2 or 3, 4 other girlfriends, whatever they were doing. They were no longer the star. I was young, I was single, I'm attractive, charismatic, I'm wealthy.
He's wealthy.
And the girls are...
He's got no wealth. He's stolen everyone's money. Even with Trader's Domain, he lost money when he was investing in that. You know, he's just, all the money he's got is ill gained.
Closer to my age than they are to these.
Oh, it's freaking hilarious. And there's lots of cuts in this video. A lot of information. You just saw a clip there. That's because they cut out information. So this isn't the raw footage. This is the what we... and I'll explain why in a few minutes.
So now you're somewhere in the summer, early fall, you find out you're under investigation for sure.
Wait till you hear this.
Yeah, you know, we had a great summer.
Great summer. Pissing money away.
We had a great Labor Day. I went to Montauk with some friends.
Oh, good on you, Chris.
My first time there. Some close friends. And I come back on the 2nd of September because my kids had something on the 3rd.
So we'd started the investigation on the 1st of September, and we did 2 days worth of investigation before we started publishing anything.
And I woke up September 3rd with 100 text messages. And it was the first article written about me and my company.
Me and my company. About your stupid contract that Eric Clayman writ, who's a defense lawyer, read that heap of shit contract that you had. Then we discovered the video where it claimed that you had insurance on people's investments, for God's sake.
So I didn't think anything about that. You know, my heart sunk a little bit, and really, you know, it's the Windermere people or the Orlando people talking.
Oh, but you did offer me $150,000 to take down my articles, didn't you?
And it was such a fixation on my lifestyle.
Well, it's lifestyle marketing. Every Ponzi scheme's the same. Look at me. If you want my wealth, do as I do. I invested in liquidity pools. That's why we go after your lifestyle, you numpy.
And such a fixation on, at the time I had hired someone in Orlando to do interior design for my homes.
Yeah, because you're all over the friggin' magazine cover of the real estate magazine. Yeah, remember that one. I could tell you some stories about that whole thing. Is it Diane Dastor, whatever her name is, or something like that? I've forgotten now, but
And it was a fixation on her lifestyle. And so I was just like, it's just a hit piece, you know, no one knows who this person is.
they do now. Oh dear, they do now, Chris, don't they? Even with one little stone. Yes, David and Goliath. I knew where to hit. We took you out. We took your 27 co-conspirators out, and you're dead in the water. And now, the good thing about these videos, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm going to put together a blog in today's session, is that we're going to go through all these videos of AI, and we're going to name and shame anyone he mentions. Now, people's names have been missed out of this. We know these when he was talking about people, those sections have been cut out, but we have still got the list of co-conspirators. And if you think you've got away with this, I mean, some really brilliant names come up in these interviews. Now, I didn't stay awake all night long. When I heard Matt Burks, I thought, yes. When I heard Jay Newton, I thought, yes. So Jay Newton, Nick Petrillo, all the people that he mentions in here. And these people will go down. They will be in jail with Christopher. Mark my words.
And even now, the person who writes all these articles gets 30 views on their channels. The problem is I didn't know that there was an arm in Orlando that would spread it like wildfire.
An arm in Orlando that would spread it like wildfire. Are you kidding me? Orlando's got an amazing community. I know when I went there to continue my investigation, I met people. I had lunch with an individual that had lost everything, even his marriage, because he got involved with Goliath Ventures. And we went out for lunch. I didn't know where I was at the time, but it was in a foyer area. And this individual bought me Uber lunch. So we sat there together in this empty room, like a games room of a accommodation complex. And we had lunch together. He was shaking like this while he was talking to me. And his watch vibrated, and he said that he set an alarm on his watch for when his heart rate gets over 130. So he's sitting there, fit looking guy, heart rate 130, just because he's talking about what's happened with Goliath Ventures. And my resting heart rate at the time was about 70, and I was having lunch talking to him because I've got a flash watch here. So, and that guy gave me the shirt of his back, the Goliath Ventures shirt that you get given when you sign up and hand over all your life savings. That guy, his life has been ruined. From his perspective, we were helping this person, this individuals. And here he is sitting here, alleging that Orlando, I don't know what he's alleging here. He's he's got a voice. He shouldn't have a voice. This guy should not be in these videos. I don't like these videos being online. These make people who lost their money vulnerable. I think that in here, they actually talk about somebody who'd already died by suicide. And one of these, I can't remember what it was, but they actually mentioned that somebody has already died by suicide because of losing their money to Goliath Ventures. Now, if you are experiencing those thoughts right now, reach out to a friend, reach out to me. I'll never sleep again in my life. I'm here to help people. I don't like seeing, I've had 2 family members die by suicide. So don't let this consume you. It's terrible what's happened, but do not let this consume you. Do not let this guy take your money and take your life, because he is just saying, I'm sorry. For 3 years, this guy has pissed your money away like it's water. I was speaking to an investor today who's lost over $1 million. And I said to them, what happened? These guys never did any investments. As Susie just put in the chat room there before, she said, we said it from the start, this Ponzi within a Ponzi. They used a white label. They white labeled somebody else's Ponzi scheme. So My Liquidity Partners. And when my team of Avengers were researching this, one of the new Avengers come along. He said to us, "Oh, you've got to investigate My Liquidity Partners." I hate crypto projects, but so I ignored it a wee bit. My other people said, "Oh, yeah." And eventually it was. They were right. I don't even know that he or she, because a lot of people who help us are anonymous. They said, you won't believe this, but they said to us, it's a mirror image of My Liquidity Partners. And now we find out in these videos, and it's not a shock to us, but they were basically taking the money that they were collecting from Goliath and putting it into another Ponzi scheme that was paying too good to be true returns on investments. And then people are going, well, why did they, where did all the money go? Well, like every Ponzi scheme, the other people at the other end of the Ponzi use all the money. They would have been told, they would have left the dividends in the Ponzi scheme, thinking that that will just hyper compound, and then they'll be able to use the money from this white labeled Ponzi scheme, My Liquidity Partners over here, to pay the dividends for Goliath Ventures. And here's Goliath Ventures telling you a lie that they had no income stream. No income stream. They were playing the market. They were playing the share market, but they were playing the Ponzi market. And you just can't, like, it was just absolutely amazing.
I had no idea that along this whole process, I had created these enemies. Again, this is someone who, I guess my involvement in all the charities and the community, I'm just trying to grow relationships, and I'm just trying to.
There's so many, I'm going to put all the transcripts of these videos into AI, and I hope it can actually add up and find the contradictions here. Because what he just said, he was just trying to do the good thing. He was just trying to build relationships and, and give back to the community. Well, why was he doing that? Because he knew he doesn't care about kids with cancer. Because you wouldn't give money to a charity if you knew that the clawbacks are going to happen and that money would be a disruptor. So let's use Runway for Hope, because we're talking about him. He gets $500,000. And all that money, he uses it to help kids with cancer. And he does the noble thing. There's no doubt about it that this charity, I think they raise, I'm not sure, about $13 million a year to help kids in cancer. I don't know the exact figure, but let's just say now that money goes towards helping kids with cancer. All of a sudden, a Ponzi scheme comes along, Goliath Ventures Inc., and they give you a whole lot of money. You use that money to help kids with cancer. And because the law is the law, now that charity has to give that money back. Now, if Christopher is as intelligent as he comes across, then did he not realize that all the money that he gives to the charities is going to be clawed back? And in turn, that means those kids that they were using that money for, theoretically, their money isn't there anymore. This is the reasoning that really it goes down like a bucket of sick. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to play the start of this video, because Daralene, and I sort of feel for Daralene as well, because she doesn't have the research behind it. I don't even believe Daralene would know what My Liquidity Partners were. And I'm not actually claiming that I really do as well, but we do have experts within the Avengers who really got down and dirty and understands exactly what that was. And also the other day we saw her looking through a contract that Nick Petrillo was already been in front of the feds before in connection to another business he had. So we had that contract 5 months ago. And the fact that she was going through it recently in another broadcast is amazing, because all that evidence, all that paperwork, all that the receipts are there already. We've already uncovered a lot of it, and I don't believe she can be up to speed with what really happened, because we've spent the hours and done the time on it. And she won't interview me. Would you believe that Mark Najiv's told me that he was talking to her on the phone and said, "Why don't you interview Danny DeHeck?" And they said, "Well, because he's not a proper journalist." And Mark said, "Well, he broke the case, didn't he?" So if an improper journalist can break the case about Goliath Ventures, then why won't they want to interview me? And they keep saying breaking the news. They haven't broke the news. Everything they've done, this is the best thing they've done is probably get this interview with Chris. But they're actually reporting on court documents. And they're reading court documents. And this is why I say that the Avengers and I, we fight these scams head to head. And we're in the trenches with the scammers. I took on Christopher Delgado. He had a meeting with his thugs or with his co-conspirators, and they were talking on ways that they could stop me doing what I do, exposing these guys. And we were relentless. We never gave up. Video after video, 80 videos we did. We put everything on the line to stop these guys, and we'll do it again. Now, Daralene Jones and WFTV, they can't do what we do because they get sued and they've probably got more money than us and they just can't. But in this particular video, to their credit, they did leave Nick Petrillo's name, Matt Burke's name, Jay Newton's name. They even said accountant. Christopher talks about Nadia Bringas as an accountant. She's a bookkeeper working for Harry J. Samuels. And Harry J. Samuels threatened to sue us because we publicised that he was the person that was used as the registrar for all these companies that Christopher was setting up. And it turns out that Nadia Bringas also went to all the Christmas parties. Now, where is she? What's she doing now? Oh, well, she re-registered a company on the 3rd of September in Wyoming because it was, at the same time when Christopher moved his company from Florida and shut it down and reopened it in Wyoming, she did the same. But there's a lot of people out there that hasn't been, but they name them in here, which is really, really cool. So let's just listen to what she's actually trying to achieve here.
I'm WFTV Channel 9 anchor and investigative reporter Daralene Jones, based here in Orlando, Florida.
Sound gone?
Many of you have followed my extensive reporting, Goliath Falls, which is a series of reports that focus on my exclusive interview with Christopher Delgado, the former.
I don't know why, but that's not doubled. So let's just go back to, I don't know why that sounds not correct. Let's try this one.
I'm WFTV Channel 9 anchor and investigative.
All right, so now we know who you are, Darlene. Let's try it again.
CEO of Goliath Ventures. It's about 7 hours total, recorded over several weeks in the weeks after he was arrested and placed on home confinement. In May, just 4 days after our first story aired, we received a federal subpoena for that video of that interview, which is not protected by reporter privilege. We are posting the interview here on YouTube so that you can also see it. During my interview, Christopher Delgado made a lot of accusations against some of the people who worked for Goliath Ventures and some high-profile people he was connected with in the Central Florida community.
I still can't help but think, I don't know what's happened to my sound here, but I still can't help but think she's just done some sort of negotiation with him. Not that I think she'd be honouring it now. Well, Christopher could defend it if she didn't, but it does seem like a bit of a witch hunt, I'll be honest.
I have been in contact with attorneys representing some of those who Delgado made allegations against. So far, none of them have been charged with any crime. So, without independent confirmation of the allegations, we here at Eyewitness News made the ethical journalistic decision not to name them at this time. It is important for you all to know.
So isn't that a batshit crazy? Made the ethical decision. I think it's more ethical
None of them have been charged with any.
I think it's more, I'm just getting the chat room open, and I just have actually opened up the what are they called thing? My live chat, so people can join me on stage if they want to. So they have made the ethical decision not to name and not to name and shame individuals that are connected to Goliath Ventures. I mean, let's not get me started on that one, but I'm going to anyway because I can't help myself. I'm just putting the link to the stage. Ethical question. Let's just pin that. So let's go. I'm just going to go here. My earpieces aren't working today for some reason. I've actually funny enough, ironically, going to order a new one. But anyway, let's go to Ponzi schemes and scams. Let's go to Goliath Ventures. Let's go to screenshots, receivers, news, lawsuits. Where's my hold on a minute. I'll just have to find it. 1 second, please. Christopher. Let's go here. So this is screenshots and videos. All right. So here's Christopher. So this is the video that no one's playing. What? And I'm just going to turn the sound off this. But, you know, we've got, I go through this video quite a lot. So we've got, you know, Steve Davis. You've got bodyguard investors. Here he is at Patrick Bet David's event, basically saying that they're doing liquidity pools. So he's there on the stage in front of 20,000 people, claiming that they were doing liquidity pool trading. At the time there, he's completely lying. Obviously now we know, because he was trying to use another scheme back in 2023, which was called My Liquidity Partners, that had already fallen over because it was a Ponzi scheme. They had no money, but here he is on the stage basically saying that they do pancake swaps.
I didn't want to put all my money in the bank, could make passive income for myself, raise my family, and basically enjoy life.
Yeah, so as you can, if we go through this video, you'll see all the co-conspirators. And at the end here, Punit Shaw there, and there they all are. I'm just going to go back here. Sorry, we'll try to do that. So there they are all there. It's just a 2 minutes to be a pain, isn't it? Hold up. Smoking cigars. So you've got Punit Shaw here that brought in 500 people into... and then you've also got Tomo, obviously, who's been spending more money. I mean, Nick, in this video, he claimed that he made $4 million a month. Who the hell needs $4 million a month coming in? And why are they divvying up the money? Why, if these guys really believe that Christopher was doing the right job, why did they take the money? They all took the money. Every single one of these individuals here, which Channel 9 wants to do the ethical thing and not mention those individuals, even though they want to get these videos that Christopher's done in front of the public. For what reason? It just doesn't make any sense. You know, and also, yes, that was quite interesting, because there is actually evidence out there that they hired trucks and moved a lot of stuff out of the house and all that sort of carry on. So we don't know everything about that. U-Haul trucks, while they were unloaded, storage facility now is empty. So yes, so they moved. They had U-Haul trucks outside Christopher's estate, taking stuff to storage units, which are now empty. And we know that there's been a couple of auctions with merch from Patrick Bet David's events, and also the gala event they held, the $9 million gala event. Come on, let's put this in perspective. He spent $9 million running a Christmas event when the money was drying up. If you watch these videos, you know, it's disgusting that what he's talking about. He talks about and he talks about, he smoozes like he's smoozing like he's a successful individual. I mean, this guy is a criminal. He's a fraudster, and he's claiming that he was like a gentleman, doing the right thing, giving to charities, trying to help the community. He's a good father. I mean, would you be proud of Christopher if he was your daddy? Anyway, let's carry on listening about Daralene, how she wanted to do the ethical thing. I mean, I'm knocking her a little bit there. She's knocking me, because I'm here to say that if we do the same things every time and expect different results, it's stupid. You tell me, how the hell could we have stopped Goliath Ventures any quicker in the world we live in at the moment? I mean, this guy was in the White House shaking hands with Michael Johnson, the Speaker of the House. He's got hands there with Kash Patel, shaking hands with Kash Patel. You've got Donald Trump giving pardons to everybody. Here he is giving $2 million, stands up at the table with, he was there on Fentanyl Day, pledging $2 million to Jackie Sagal's charity. There doesn't mention anything about that in this reporting. He paid $250,000 of that, and then they haven't received another cent because he just pledged that money in front of in the White House, wherever it was at the time they had the dinner. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that this guy did. But we heard that he paid $250,000 to get there in the first place, and then recycled all the pictures, claiming he was there for Crypto Day a week later, and he wasn't. It was just, but this is what Christopher did, knowing that he's living a lie. This isn't a man that made a few mistakes. This is a man that was a calculated, for the use of a better word, killer. he was calculated at what he was doing, and he didn't want it to stop.
Know that in journalism, we are held to a much higher standard than bloggers and social media enthusiasts who may post content on their platforms with a less stringent verification process.
Okay, well, yeah, well, they did try and do a lawsuit against me and then filed a discontinuance. And at the moment, hopefully, I've got a lawyer who wants to go after them. The lawyers who basically threatened me with, well, not threatened me, but I had threats coming in from other people. So it wasn't a nice period of my life either, but I took the risk because I didn't want anyone else to lose their money to this here. So yes, okay. So a blogger, whoever I am on the world, we've done the ethical thing, and we've just done all the PC stuff. We won't take any risk because it's not worth it. Well, it was worth it for me.
We will continue with our diligent reporting to verify the facts in this important ongoing federal case. And we will update this site and all of our WFTV platforms with the latest information as we do so.
Yeah, the court filings, when they come out, we'll read them.
So tell us your name, who you are, and what you do.
Oh, this is great. Anyway, guys, I'm not really here to bitch and moan too much. Yeah, thank you very much. I see, thanks, thank you for your comment there. I see, wish I would have seen you on April. Yeah, it's just sad. This is how I actually feel about it. I mean, when you look at these videos here, right, and you go through them all, at one point they walk through the house and, I'm just trying to have a wee look at some the other things. He's sitting at the kitchen table there telling you all this hard luck story. I mean, this stuff really made me feel like, getting a bucket and throwing up in it when I was watching this last night. Some of the stuff here, she did ask some really good questions, I must admit.
Invest. And that's how the concept of us white labeling MLP started, was just, because eventually I was just like, I'm invested with this company, with MLP. If you want to invest alongside me, just go invest with them. But then Nick became privy to the referral fees and the commissions that could be made.
12%. Now, just to give you an idea, to show you how good my team is, and I'm praising our own thing here. If you come here, we've got Goliath, and Goliath is where I've got 60 blogs, at least 60 blogs that are there. So if I go to My Liquidity Partners, NLP. Right. So this was a video that we did in October. All right. And here's Christopher and Nick. And this is I can't even say his name, starts with V, and they're two partners, right? Now, we did a video about this, and you can even see the AI was not very good. I kind of look like a funny nosed bird there, just saying. But here we are at the time calling it a 300 to 500 million alleged Ponzi scheme in Orlando, Florida. Here's photos with Cash Patel. And then we were telling people, so Verlin, they call him Sir Verlin and Lord Diego. So we tracked these guys and these individuals all the way back. So this is who they were actually at the time.
Chris Delgado, founder of Goliath Ventures, Volan Sanchianko, convicted scammer, Tina Liu, MLP Business Dev Officer, Anastasia Nepomniachtchik, Chief Administrative Officer of MLP, and Nick Petrillo, Chief Operations Officer of Goliath Ventures, on January 19, 2023.
Yeah, so even in these videos, like we've got pictures of Christopher, and I think we've got images here. All the images of Christopher just pissing everyone's money away. We've even got the Alexander brothers, who are now incarcerated for doing heinous things to young ladies, drugging them in nightclubs. We've got Romy here, who's a local businessman in Orlando. Next minute, we see him on a plane with, Christopher, drinking up. And there's, it looks like these guys are really, just enjoying life with your money. We've got photos of, them in Mykonos, everything that you can think of. This is Jackie Segal's sons, not saying they were involved, but they smooched with everybody in the community, and you look at these photos, and everything, but one of the ones that most, I did enjoy the flight though. I was pretending I was captain there, just saying. It's quite good. We had a bit of fun doing it. You got to take the fun out of it. But here we got, the everyone that's involved. There they are at Patrick Ben David's, Vault 2025 event. They've set themselves up a stall. I mean, who the hell would endorse somebody who claims that they can generate 8% returns per month? It just goes on and on and on. But anyway, one of the ones I did want to show you is this one here, actually. And I don't know if I can actually get this big, but this is the water-cooled miners. And this is what I heard from credible sources. A billionaire lady I was talking to on the phone, as you do. She was telling me that they had these water-cooled crypto mining containers, and you could digitally break them into 10 investments. And you'd buy them for $250,000, and then you could sell them, and they were water-cooled mining for Bitcoin. And if you go to the Goliath Ventures website, this is what they were trying to get off the ground. And that's Nick on the left, and that's obviously Christopher on the right. And obviously that didn't actually happen, And this is, when you look at these photos here, and this is me visiting Christopher in a few years' time. Jason Derulo, not saying he was involved, but Christopher, that was the night before Jason Derulo paid at their $9 million event. I don't think Jason got paid by the sounds of it. And to be where he is here, standing on stage right next to him, I think that cost $30,000. Does this sound like a guy, this is him doing all the videos that were on his YouTube channel after they collapsed, after Christmas time. And then the cameraman, Gary Rice, we just know everybody that's involved. This is the family that Christopher will not get to spend time with. That's, I'm even getting to know all their names really well. I've forgotten a name. It's like a boy's name just about, isn't it? Andy? I think it's Andy, something like that. But anyway, that's his ex-wife, and there's his kids. One's on the spectrum, I believe, and 2 birth children. So, I mean, that's just going to be horrible for those kids. And he's telling you on one hand that he's remorseful and sad, and he's a good man. These are the type of meals where they took investors out, or people that they wanted to handle the investment. This is the type of meals. I mean, I know this is trivial sort of stuff, but they spent the money. If you listen to this, Christopher's talking like he's wealthy and he's somebody. Well, he's a common thief. He's just gone in and told people that he's going to do things. He didn't have anything generating any income. And now we have to sit here and watch 5.5 hours of Christopher for the people that don't know the background and the historical stuff that he's done and the dirty tactics he's even tried with me to stop me reporting on him. He didn't want to stop Goliath Ventures from doing what it's doing. That's not what he wanted to do. He didn't want to be exposed. He wanted to carry on doing it. So where would have he stopped if we didn't step in and start, going after him? I mean, look at even this can of drink that they've got. This is from New Zealand, and Tomo is they're meant to be part of this company. They tried to invest in other things, and all these co-conspirators have just, I don't even know how to put it, have all tried to get it going, other businesses going using Goliath Ventures money. That's what I'm trying to say. So I didn't know much about this car, but this Lamborghini here is meant to be worth, $600,000, and then he spent $300,000 putting a body kit on it to make it look like.
Did you take a helicopter? Or did you drive in? And originally I would drive in and wait in 45 minutes of traffic. They're like, your time's not worth to take a $3 million helicopter ride.
So they're questioning your value based on how you're presenting yourself.
Correct. We talked about how wealth talks in silence, and these are subtle.
I can't stand him talking about wealth. One funny thing though is he's got his ankle bracelet on down the bottom here. He can't use his cylinder because he'll blow out the ankle bracelet. And oh, that's just so sad, Chris. You know,
things that how someone of wealth operates. You know, they don't flash. And again, I never put me flying, you know, the photos of me online of me in a private jet or stuff like that, either my friends posted or we did a professional shoot.
Hold it a minute. The photos of me inside my private jet were a private shoot or my friends posting. So does it look like he's posing here in his private jet? Or is that a professional shoot? I mean, are you going to buy all this rubbish? Is this a professional shoot here? You know, bodyguard, Alex, you know, Romy, who's got friends like the Alex brothers are now in jail. Where else are your jets, mate? That's a professional shoot. Oh, that's okay. We're not showing off. This one here, was that a professional shoot? What are you talking about, Chris? You know, here he is outside with his ankle bracelet on, and somebody gave us a photo of Christopher sitting out in the sun in the backyard not too long ago, just while he's got his ankle bracelet on. So that sounds like a good story. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, Chris.
I never flashed me on a private jet or me taking these trips or flying into New York, but because I understand how it worked at that point. And I knew if someone asked, you know, when did you fly or where did you fly into New York? Teterboro. Well, they know that Teterboro is an executive airport. I didn't need to tell them that I flew private. How did you get into the city? Oh, we helicoptered into, you know, downtown. We're staying at the Ritz Nomad. We're, you know, like, I now started understanding how to say I'm wealthy without saying I'm wealthy.
Wealth. Does he really know what wealth is, guys? I mean, most wealthy people you wouldn't know are wealthy. They call it new money. Well, Christopher's new money. And look, it's not rocket science here. I mean, they were part of a Ponzi scheme called My Liquidity Partners. They invested whatever money, wherever they got that money from, I have no idea. And they were getting 8 to 12% return per month. That's what Ponzi schemes do. They give you ridiculous return on your investments. And then as soon as the money runs out, everything gets cut off. They encourage you to hyper compound your money, not take it out. So Christopher was investing in a Ponzi scheme that fell over. And then he decided that he would start up his own Ponzi scheme and use the money that investors paid and put it into a Ponzi scheme to get the return on investment. White labeling a Ponzi scheme. I mean, you can't make this shit up. And then when the Ponzi scheme fell over, in 2023, wherever it was, then he kept saying to people, give me money, give me money, give me money. And I will give you, he was paying 8.5% return. Some people were even getting more. And he explained a lot of this throughout the video. So they were basically giving returns of investment, but they were literally just using new money to pay old investors. That's exactly what he was doing. And then they had no way of generating any money because their Ponzi scheme over here had fallen over. So now we're coming up with our own Ponzi scheme and we're looking for ways to generate incomes. So then what they were doing, they would have seen the money they were paying their investors. Investors put $100,000 in, they were getting $3,000. They were taking that money out. They would have thought, well, look at them, they're getting paid out. You know, then they started paying themselves and spending money. Who the hell needs 12 sports cars, 18 Rolex watches, 8 properties, travels around in a Learjet, stays in all the flash hotels, spends $100,000 in a night on alcohol, throws a $9 million dinner after he knows that the company's gone bankrupt, and then claims that he's wealthy. Wealthy? Is that what we're doing with that, Chris?
And that's where these things came in. You know, I never flashed my Lamborghinis or my cars online. I never.
Oh, where's the blue Lamborghini, Chris?
Never did lifestyle shoots or lifestyle marketing.
Never did lifestyle shoots. All right. Let's see. Never did lifestyle shoots. Oh, here's one. Never did lifestyle shoots. What's this here, Chris? What's this here? Is this a snap? Is this just a wee photo? Is it? Is this what you talk? I don't get you saying I never did lifestyle shoots.
But people would see me drive up to a restaurant or drive up to a private lounge, and knowing this is a 101 car, knowing my.
It's lifestyle marketing, and the cameraman just sneezed.
knowing my Rolls Royce was a black badge.
Are those custom seats?
No.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it's a standard, yeah.
What is that back there, a sauna?
Yeah, it's a sauna that I
Oh,
can't...
I didn't even see that.
That's a sauna that I can't use right now.
And then, who do you got to bribe in Orange County to get 2 sets of trash cans?
Yeah.
But Kira, your eye is impeccable.
I think I like to.
I mean, how does that work?
What's crazy is for 2 people, we fill them up.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
We have a...
Well, you're here now.
Yeah,
like,
I guess that's the point, is we're trying to figure out...
This is an in-home...
This is an in-home red light therapy, or red light sauna. I don't know. This is pretty light.
What is it?
This is, I actually bought a workout bench because I can't go to the gym.
So let me get this
I bought
right.
a workout.
That somebody who can steal $400 million from people, never made a cent of real genuine money in his own life, can have an ankle bracelet, still live in an $8.5 million house, and also still purchase stuff like a gym because he can't go to the gym because he's currently got an ankle bracelet on. Where's the hypocrisy in that?
Bench and dumbbells.
I don't think it's moving.
It's
not very
moving
intelligent.
slowly that way. No?
Oh no! Oh, help me out, Darlene.
Yeah, I'm not strong enough.
All right, if you want to come in here and you could pull it also out of the way.
So why can't you, this is a sauna,
Infrared
Got an ankle
sauna.
bracelet
and
on.
you can't use it?
Because it will heat the internal mechanisms of the ankle monitor.
And it would melt on...
It could damage the battery, or it can trigger a tamper event, which would violate
Oh,
me.
like you're trying to get it off.
Yeah.
But you do want it off.
Because I want to use the sauna.
I wonder if they sold this house as is, if they could get the full value.
No, they would probably get 7.5 to 8 million max for this house. And that's because me and the original owners were in like a 14-month battle over the price.
It's interesting. I've heard this partner I'll explain it basically, but he wanted $6.5 million for the house. No, he wanted $9 million for the house. Chris offered him $6.5 million, and they finished up after a long battle, negotiated back at $8.5 million. The night before he moved into the house, they were holding a party, and he owed the previous owner $2 million, and the previous owner wouldn't allow him to move into the house unless he paid the $2 million that he was short at the time. So long story short, they got the $2 million from somewhere, and we actually found that one of the investors' monies actually went. So somebody's investment that come into Goliath Ventures went towards paying that $2 million that they were short. They held a party that night. And how do I know that? Because they had my video on the big screen in the house playing, mocking me for exposing them for running a Ponzi scheme at the time. I had people at the party telling me that they were in the house and they were broadcasting my YouTube live videos in the house that he just managed to get into because he owed $2 million. And then later on, when we watched the filings, we saw that that $500,000 I just talked about was used to pay some of that $2 million. Unreal, way. So did we make a difference to these guys? Yes, we did. And this is probably the most funnest part.
The
of
man who
this
shot
video.
his wife?
No.
Oh, the one after that.
Yeah, the one after.
Okay.
They, I think they originally wanted 9 million. I offered like 6.5.
This cameraman's quite funny. Isn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think originally they wanted 9 million. I had offered 6.5. They said that they wouldn't take anything less than 7. So then I offered 7 million, and we kind of just negotiated for over a year on,
By the way, his slippers
you know,
are the female
what
versions.
they were willing to sell it for and where they were willing to do. Eventually, they came to 8.5 million and basically said, "We're not moving," and it stood there for the longest time. I actually came and looked at the house, decided not to buy it, and then, you know, my rent was, my lease was expiring in Keens Point, and I needed to make a decision. Do I keep renting or do I buy a home? Part of me wishes I kept renting. You know, the rent would have been paid for, it was a year in advance. It's a beautiful home, and we had 8.5 million. So,
But you were still trying to keep up with...
yeah, I was still trying to
feed the noise or the perception.
The narrative.
The narrative, yeah. You know, people question everything. They didn't question the contracts, but they questioned everything else. And that
They
was
didn't question the contracts.
the game that I was playing.
So I was reading the contract again this morning, and a lot of things stood out to me, but one of the things is the guarantee of the return.
This is amazing.
No one questioned you about how you could
Yeah,
guarantee
we did.
these returns?
People actually, we originally didn't have that in the contracts. And people wanted that in the contracts. Even though we told them that no investment fund ever has a guarantee. And they were like, well, if you're so sure in your product, then guarantee it.
How stupid is that? High risk investment. If it's such a good thing, you guarantee it as well. I mean, you can't have your apple and eat your pudding too, your cake and whatever it is. But interesting enough, it was one interesting. This is where he might have mentioned about Matt Burke's independent audit, and he was telling us that people didn't want to audit where the money was coming from in case there was a problem because they were so happy with the dividends they were getting, they didn't want anyone to poke the fire, so to speak.
And you're right, it is the biggest red flag that you can ever have in an investment contract. That's what people wanted. So he said no one ever questioned our contracts, our operations. No one ever asked to see the wallets. No one ever asked to see the inner workings of the company. No one cared.
Well, that's not quite right, is it? Because Jonathan Mason said that he'd seen the wallets and you'd showed him the wallet, so he questioned it. And then when you showed him, he reckons there's still $1 billion tied up. Doesn't know the difference between an exchange crypto wallet address and a proper wallet address, obviously. But anyway.
We got the biggest backlash from our investors.
There we go.
When we initiated an audit. When we hired a third-party auditing firm and froze everything, our investors were calling and this is where they were starting to use, well, we're in a joint venture partnership and we don't agree to an audit. We don't care. We don't care what you're doing with our money. If we get a return, then we're happy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I'll just have a wee break here. I will put together a blog in a few minutes, but it's quite interesting just watching some of these videos together with you guys, my family. If you were on my YouTube channel, the video that really kicked it home for us and we really exposed Goliath Ventures, I think if you go to my playlist, you can actually see that we actually have a dedicated playlist just for Goliath Ventures. And in here, there is a video that, oh my goodness, I just can't imagine how many of these videos we've actually done. It is actually breathtaking when you think about it. You know, the best one obviously is CoffeeZilla. But if you are looking through here, this is the video that really broke the monkey's back. You can even see I'm dressed up in here. But it's 1 hour, 47 minutes and 17 seconds long. I'm really proud of what we've done. And thank you for the lovely comments too, by the way.
They do need to be background checked too. Like that is a key. So it's not like what you're doing.
And before you say it, Queen of Karma, the dirty windows. So see these windows, I've got gold bits on them. Every time I play this video, Queen of Karma goes, clean the windows.
It's just it's in the way that we're wording things. They're a 1099 subcontract, independent contractor.
Now, I don't even know, but just between his arm and his body, you can see black block. People actually thought it was black rock. They didn't realize. I've had that before. They always do this.
For your company that's getting paid a fee or commission, whatever you want to call it. We're okay with that, but you just have to do it the right way. Yes.
In this meeting, are we going to discuss that breakdown?
So it was just incredible.
This is the page you all like and love.
So this was the insurance that he was talking about. But this whole video contradicts whatever he's just said in the interview with Daralene. Because this video basically talked about them going forward. It talked about the insurance and the bonds. Every aspect of this video here is just breathtaking. So if you're on this video and you want to, we went through and did the hard yards. We put all the timestamps, which means you can click on view all. And you can actually literally go through and, listen to, oh, that's not working. Why is that not working? View all. That's better. And then you can come through here and you can listen to Black Block Partnership. And then Now, what's this doing? Hold it. Let's get rid of that. That's better. And you can listen to different parts.
So as we get started, I'm going to turn it over to the Black Box team. This is their session. Just as our chats and emails have gone, this session really is for everyone to get all their questions answered, to ask questions, to get any materials or any ideas that you guys have that you guys want to bring back to your partners. So everything you guys ask in the chat, from documentation to changes in agreements to our insurance and fidelity bonds, this is what that meeting is for. Thank you guys again for being here. Thank you guys for dedicating your day to be here. I know we're all super busy, and this is very important, not only for the company, but for myself as well. So with that said, I'm going to turn it off to Mr. Piers and Mr. Matt. They have your guys' undivided attention.
It's just unreal.
Pretty, but okay. All right. Well, Poon gets to be our proofreader now, so we have
all
it.
kidding, like aside, that's the closer.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have that degree of language in there with the insured and bonded, it says we're vetted, we're cleared, and when we talk about how
it's so funny that in here, this one screenshot talks about how they're not an investment company, and all the terms and conditions that you see. So we went through and did all the hard yards. We've looked at all these videos. This video here was only viewed 39 times. It was on a Vimeo account, and we managed to nab it. We uploaded it. They tried everything to get it off the internet. We kept putting it back. They did denial server attacks against my website. You know, they just did everything they could to, you know, come after us, my team of Avengers, and we stayed strong. It really was a, you know, just a breathtaking thing at the time, to be honest. But we did it.
Hundreds of calls from every director to myself directly saying, we didn't opt for this. Why are you doing this? This isn't a true joint venture. We didn't agree to an audit. We don't care what you're doing with our money. As long as we get our distribution, we're happy.
Imagine that. Here he is telling people that they don't care what they do with their money. I doubt that was even true. I mean, this is why I don't like this interview. I just can't help but think this is Christopher controlling the last of the narrative.
Yeah, I know. You stopped at the right time. Is that where homeboys?
These are 2 bedrooms. So one downstairs, one upstairs. Yeah, we can walk around the front.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The back is where you get the most action. Is where you get people taking photos.
I've stood right there.
So what's in those garages? Nothing.
Just storage. I had bought a dirt bike a long time ago, and my friend gifted me a golf cart, family golf cart, and so that's what sits in those garages.
This is like something out of a magazine.
It's beautiful.
I don't think it is.
It reminds me of my 2 favorite places.
I'm more of an inner city man, overlooking the skyline of the city. It does more for me, to be honest. Mowing lawns and having greenkeepers doesn't interest me.
This is Italy and Greece. It's Tuscany, Mediterranean.
Yeah, we've been there.
How? I feel like I asked you this, but I'll ask again. I mean, how much longer do you think you have here?
Tick, 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 tick.
Maybe 3 months max.
So Nick, that was getting $4 million a month, has bought himself an $8,500 mansion, and we know that he's got a $5 million mortgage on it. So if Nick was getting $4 million a month, was he hyper compounding, or was it just a figure on the back end of an app that he could log into? I mean, if you were getting $4 million a month, would you go and get a $5 million mortgage? I'm just saying, wouldn't you save up for a couple of months?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a beautiful place to be confined to, and it was such an achievement and milestone. But I have no idea.
What's over there? Just the garage? Or?
It's the garage, and then this goes into my closet.
What's upstairs?
My kids' bedrooms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How many bedrooms?
It's 6 bedrooms.
Oh, here comes somebody.
Yeah, 4 upstairs.
It looks bigger.
Sorry, 5 bedrooms. Yeah.
Uh,
It's
Who's driving in a cul-de-sac and they don't live in it?
Well, I was, but not then. But yeah, there's a cul-de-sac that goes around in a loop. So the only reason you'd go in there is either to do a U-turn or to be nosy and see who's there, which is absolutely batshit crazy. Ironically, I was there. I won't even say, but I want to say what I say, but it will give something away. But anyway.
No, I mean, truly.
It's because the bedrooms are so big. I mean, half the bottom floor is the master suite. I have three,
So that goes.
I have 3 closets. You know, the bathroom is massive. So there's a lot of different elements that take up space of the house.
It's not clean right now.
So Nick was where he got his gold card
I don't know if I want you filming in there.
I want to see the clothes.
You can see it. Come on.
So
Did you hire someone?
There's another documentary being done at the moment, and I know I just heard for the grapevine that they said that if I was to meet Chris, I'd like him, and I still can't figure out why they think that. He's a bit of a schmoozer, and I do think that Darlene's actually either befriended him in a nice way so she can get a good interview. And I can't keep knocking Daralene, but I do think that somebody in WFTV Channel 9 News is an investor with Goliath, and I would love to know who that is. I do know of family members that have invested in Goliath, but I don't know of anyone that works in the newsroom, perhaps, or a reporter that actually also invested. But as I said earlier on, I've been privy to sitting beside somebody on the phone to somebody from, I can only assume, Channel 9 News, who was an investor who wanted to remain anonymous. So if you have any leads to anyone in Channel 9 News that had invested in Goliath Ventures, I would love to hear from you, because that's worth investigating, because I do believe there's something not quite right with how this whole interview process went through. And we haven't given up on investigating this, but I'll state it quite clearly that somebody from WFTV Channel 9 was an investor with Goliath Ventures. And, and I have a feeling it may have been connected to somebody with Sanjay as well. So anyone that knows anything about that, let me know, because I would love to investigate that a bit further. And maybe that's why they got the interview in the first place.
To design the decorating and.
Yeah, I hired an interior designer, and that's what he was designing and decorating everything for the house.
So if it's the same interior designer who did the fit out for the offices, we've reached out to them. They got paid in advance. They finished the contract and they walked away. I have literally been inside those offices and I've seen the blueprints to the design. They were going to spend like $5 million doing up the $3.2 million purchase building on 189C Orange Street. Boy, I'm good, eh? Avenue, is it? But yes, so I assume it may be the same individual that we reached out with. It was very nice and quite informative, but didn't want to get involved.
House. This goes directly into my closet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so there are multiple ways
to get into the master bedroom. Yeah. I just don't know if I want this film.
Well, you decide.
It's just some of the bags and stuff are either restitution or restitution. I just don't want the DOJ to see it and be like, he didn't.
But I want to see it. Yeah.
He didn't turn over that bag.
Oh, well, there you go. So that's quite good, isn't it? Because if Christopher lies in any which way or form or misleads the DOJ, he's going to go to prison for 50 years because that's part of his plea deal. So these videos have been subpoenaed. So that's quite good, isn't it? So obviously he's hiding something. So I'm pretty sure somebody from the Department of Justice will actually say, what were you talking about at that moment? And he'll have to say.
Why? Yeah, I can see.
I can see why.
A lot of this stuff is gifts.
There we go. So now we're going for that shot. And that's where I've stood right there. I was going to knock on his door, but the day I went there, no cars were in the drive and all the lights are out. He's taking the photos. There he is. Get it centered. That's quite good, isn't it? snap. Oh, he's holding it very steady. Doing a good job there, mate. So where Christopher just went now, he's gone up to these little wee, oh no, I see where he's gone. No sound. And then they've come back down. And here they come. What time did you start? Not too long ago, but I've been going for 1 hour, 19 minutes ago. Yeah, what else have we got here then? So now we're coming out the front doors. This video's
We're gonna
at 155 views at the moment.
Yeah. Do you have video on your cameras from when the IRS came?
I'd have to go back and look, but yeah.
How long does that stay on? Is it a server?
I mean, they record 24/7, and I just have to go into. But they're not flashy.
Oh.
They don't wear IRS hats. They don't wear IRS jackets. I actually made the comment the first time they came, and I was like, "You guys don't have fancy jackets like the FBI?" And they said, "No, we're a little more low key."
Oh.
So 2 agents showed up. They're very nice. I gave them the keys. I had the cars parked out here. They just took the VIN numbers and license plate numbers and then put them on a tow truck and drove off.
That was it.
Yeah. So it wasn't a dramatic scene like what people think it is. They don't.
But what are you going to do?
They don't kick down your front door or raid your home. They can, if you give them reason to. But in this case, there was no reason for them to raid my home.
Has the DOJ been here?
No.
You went to them.
Yes.
Why did you agree to talk to them?
Because I knew the information coming out would have been false. And it would have either made it more difficult for me, or, like we said before.
All right, guys. So let me show you what I'm going to do with this information. So I'm going to do something you may have not seen me do before, but hopefully these videos have been online enough where I can actually get the transcript out of them. So this is what I do. I use a program called YouTube-transcript.io. This is video number 1, and I'm just going to get the URL, and with a bit of luck, I can paste that in there, and now it will go away and get the transcript out of the video. So now I'm going to start giving you the transcripts from each video. This is part 1. And there. So that's that. Whoops. So now we go to part 1. And hopefully, so yes, we've got it. So there's the transcript. So now I copy all the transcripts. So their first video that they did was actually right, and then I just have to give it a couple more instructions. Please note that the timestamps are in minutes, and you'll need to convert them back to hours if you're going to refer back to them when we create the blog. This is the first transcript from part 1. So it might not... oh, good. Oh, this is great. All right. So now what we do is we've got the transcript from part 1. We'll now go to transcript from part 2. And we'll go back and let's see if we can just... I don't know if we can go back. Let's just go back and we'll put that one in there and extract. So now we're going to go back to that. And then this is also the transcript from part 2. Part 2, and I'm putting these in here. This is not going quite as planned. Alrighty, so now we go back to here, and thank goodness. And this one here was 1 hour, nearly an hour and a half. Go back to here. That's good. And then we've got 3 more to do. Is that number 3? Part 3. Ooh. I actually wouldn't mind even copying these. My wife does not know about this. Okay, I love that. And websites disabled video. I wonder why. This is interesting because it's telling me that the videos aren't anymore. So let's have a look and see. Copy, and we want to. That's number 3. Won't be a second. That one there. This is the transcript for part 3. And then hopefully all this will come together nicely. Go back to here. And then we'll go back to here and we'll go, this is the transcript for number 4. And I'll go back and get number 4. Right click, copy. And I'm hoping that if it refers, and then the last one, oh, hold it, we've got to get the transcript first. This is good. Now, something else I might do just to future-proof myself, because I reckon these videos could actually get removed. And I've got them all there. So there's all the videos. Now we're down to the last one. And that is I'll go back to that one. And I'm going to put that there, grab that there, and this is the transcript for, oops, and that's that finale. So now what I need to do is grab part 1, and we're going to go through here and part 1. I'm going to put them in speech marks. I'm showing you all my tricks. And then we're going to go part 2, change that to part 2, and then part 3. I was going to do this all by myself today, but I felt like I needed the company. Part 4. Alrighty, so now we're going back to here and hopefully we've got it. So we've got all the transcripts from all the videos, which isn't always that easy. The last video is only 44 minutes long, and now we go back to here and paste. And hopefully that's the last one there. So now we've got all the transcripts. Right. All the transcripts for each video. I'm just going to go back to this, each video. We're going to create a blog. Ours, go back to the code blog. Create me the blog. And then I'm going to put that there. All right, this is, okay, this is part 1. Just making sure we're as uniform as we can be, so it's got itself off to a good start. Right. And there was another thing that was really, really cool, which we had got given to us yesterday. And I'll just see if I can find it. Thank you very much, Susie. That's a lovely comment. Susie said I'm her hero. That's really nice. It's so it's just amazing what we're doing. So I'm just trying to find a thingy that we got yesterday, which basically says that they've put I'll read it when I get it. And there is a method of my madness. It'll be a bit slow getting this blog going, but I want to include what we got yesterday. So there it is here, what I'm looking for. And this is really important for victims. Remember, we work for the victims. Save as, and we're going to put this into desktop. So there's two things that we did yesterday. If you are on my website and you go to post, in here you'll see we did this post about, and we've just got to read it. That's the easiest way to me explain it rather than me trying to have a go here. So this is what we got yesterday, another filing.
Good news for Goliath Ventures victims. The U.S. Department of Justice has filed another important court document in the criminal case against Christopher Alexander Delgado. And this is very good news for everyone affected by the Goliath Ventures Ponzi scheme. The latest filing confirms there are now more than 1,000 known victim investors, with losses of at least $250 million US. Investigators have also received more than 1,600 victim responses, showing just how widespread this fraud became. Because there are so many victims, prosecutors have asked the court for permission to use an alternative notification process. Instead of trying to contact every victim individually straight away, the Department of Justice will continue updating its case website, email identified victims, and enroll everyone into the victim notification system so they receive ongoing updates. Another significant update is that investigators are still reviewing company records, bank accounts and cryptocurrency wallets while verifying every victim claim. They expect this process to be substantially completed by the end of July 2026. This filing does not mean sentencing has taken place, nor does it mean restitution payments are about to begin. What it does show is that the government is making steady progress towards identifying every victim and ensuring they are kept informed as the case moves through the courts. If you invested in Goliath Ventures and have not yet identified yourself as a victim, now is the time to do so. Every verified victim matters when it comes to restitution, and ensuring the full scale of this fraud is recognized. I've attached the latest court filing for anyone who wants to read it. Although it's only 6 pages long, it provides an important insight into where the case now stands. For everyone who lost money, this is another positive step forward. Justice takes time, but this case continues to move in the right direction.
Yeah, so United States renewal motion for alternative victims notifications. Yeah, so this is what we're actually going to rename that document while I've got it there. Hold it. I'm just doing it so I don't have to do it later. But basically put is not everyone's come forward. But rather than forgetting those victims, and this is the really interesting stuff, what this document is actually basically saying is everybody's in the database. We've got everybody who's ever invested in Goliath Ventures contact details. So if you haven't put a proof of claim in, that's your affair. But if you have been a net winner and you think you're going to get away with it, because there is a lot of people out there that discovered it was a Ponzi scheme, got their money out and their dividends out, and then have kept quiet, waiting for the IRS to knock on their door. So this document here is showing you that the 2,000, well, here we go. They've got, so far they've had 1,600 responses to victims' questionnaires. So we believe, our Avengers team believes that there's actually could be 2,500 people involved in Goliath Ventures, but obviously only 1,600 of them come forward. Why is that? Well, they've got a database and they're going to basically go through that database. So we fortunately had one of our Avengers set up this lovely, a new motion, which is filed, and you'll see that, 1,600 responses, 1,000 plus victims, but we know there's many more. This is Christopher's $250 million loss, but we know now it's up to $400 million because they're actually in debt at the time as well. I mean, imagine holding a $9 million Christmas event at the end of all this. It's just absolutely batshit crazy. So I would like to, so I'm going to actually say, when I think it would be nice to have this message and this information featured at the end of the blog once we finish. What other information do you need from me to create this blog after going through all the transcripts of Christopher Delgado? Let's see what it comes up with. So that's what we're doing here today. Let's see if it's asking me for any information. SEC filings, your existing investigation, emails, timeline, names. I think I really built finally. All right. So just remember, anybody that's named in the transcripts, we want to include in the blogs, especially people that helped Christopher scam people. And please do not make this an alleged Ponzi scheme. Christopher has already pleaded guilty in the courtroom for running a large-scale Ponzi scheme. It keeps when you do it. So can you please give me the introduction, and then when we go on to each section, I will use the word next. There's 5 videos in total, and I will be embedding them in the blog so people can watch them if they want to. I'll let you decide the best way of generating this blog. Alrighty, so let's go here and let's see what it comes up with first, and we'll do this in real time. So what's it saying? Right. Right. So let's see what it's come up with first to see if we're on the right wavelength.
I like the direction you're taking, and I agree with a couple of important points. Since Christopher Delgado has pleaded guilty, we no longer need to describe Goliath Ventures as an alleged Ponzi scheme when referring to the criminal conduct he admitted in court. We should still be careful to distinguish between established facts, Christopher's own admissions, and any accusations he makes about other people who have not been charged or convicted.
True,
where he
Deputy.
names other individuals in the interviews, will identify them, explain the role he says they played, and clearly separate his claims from independently verified evidence where appropriate. I also think embedding each WFTV interview immediately before the section analysing it is the best approach. That allows readers to watch the original interview first if they wish, then continue into our detailed breakdown. Here's the introduction I'd recommend. Christopher Delgado breaks his silence, analysing more than 5 half-hours.
Excellent. Can you please use some bold words to break up the reading? And also, can we have an awesome quote at the very start? I forgot to give you my instructions for how I like my blogs written. Maybe I'll give them to you now.
After his arrest. Until now, very few
right.
people have
So-
sat through the entire series.
So what I
Most
do
have only seen short clips or news reports
Just,
highlighting selected moments. This investigation is different. Rather than reacting to headlines or isolated quotes, I'm going to analyse every interview from beginning to end using the complete transcripts. Every significant admission will be examined. Every
Shut that
important
up.
claim will be compared against the evidence already gathered throughout my own investigation.
Yeah, so as you can sort of see, I have my way of doing things. But anyway, so now I've got my quote. Here's how to open the blog. There's my quote. And for years, blog case file. What's it saying here? I'll just read the last part of it.
I also think this investigation deserves its own identity. Rather than simply calling it a blog, I'd treat it as a case file. Throughout the series, we'll be building a living record of the evidence, with timelines, admissions, named individuals, money flows, and supporting documentation all woven into the narrative. By the end, readers shouldn't just understand what Christopher Delgado said. They should understand how his account fits into the broader body of evidence surrounding the rise and collapse of Goliath Ventures.
New
I
donation
think that
from So
approach
Proud
will
of the
make
Work
this
You
one
Are
of your
Doing.
strongest investigations to date.
Oh, thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. I really do. Okay, so excellent. I'm looking forward to this. I'll let you give me the next sections. If you could not give me the commentary along the way, because I keep accidentally copying this into the case file /blog. Alrighty. So now what we'll do is searching for, let's see what it comes up with. Understood. Okay. Let's see what it says to me here, where we battle with until we get it.
Understood.
Going.
From this point forward, I'll provide only the blog content, ready for you to copy and paste directly into your article. No commentary, no explanations, no notes outside the blog itself. We'll build it one section at a time. When you type next, I'll generate the next section based on the transcripts and continue the investigation in the same style, preserving the narrative flow and avoiding repetition. By the end, we'll have one cohesive investigative exposé rather than 5 separate interview summaries.
All right, so what I've just done there is that's going to be the lead into it. Because I know what I know, I'm just going to put my footer into it so I don't have to do this later on. Footer. And now we're going to be starting to do a blog. So that's my footer. And it's a bit of a chunky one. But the first paragraph, we normally make that nice H3 to break it up. And the second paragraph, we normally make that H4. And that's what you do for SEO. It helps a little bit. And then if you have a look at the start of it, this is what we're going to be looking at so far. And that's how it works. And I think we've actually already got a bit of a blog. So let's go back to the start of the blog here. And I think this is going to be the title.
Christopher Delgado breaks his silence, analysing more than 5.5 hours of exclusive WFTV interviews.
Yeah, breaks his silence. I know it was about breaking his silence, but it will do. One thing I have learned is be good today rather than perfect tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. Let's just get that, copy that, and just see if we've got, that is 97 characters long. So now we have a title for the blog. There it is. And that means that when we look at that now, we should have a lovely title to go with it and no picture. And there it is. I'm happy with that so far. So let's see what ChatGPT will do after we've fed it a whole lot of information. Now, in case you're wondering, this is not just today's blog. We've got a whole thread on everything that we've done with Goliath Ventures. We've actually got a folder called Goliath Ventures.
New donation from someone.
Oh, thank you again. Really appreciate it. So I'm just going to see if we can somehow write a little. There it is. So I want to rename that, put the title in there, and then I can find it when I need it. And then let's see what it does next. We probably go back and read the heading first, the first section, and see what it says. So let's have a look at the introduction and see how it comes out that you wanted to be here next time.
These instructions are excellent and they fit this project perfectly. I think they'll produce a much stronger investigation than simply summarising the interviews. One small recommendation: for this blog, I'd tweak your opening rules slightly. Instead of beginning with a generic quote, let's begin with one of Christopher Delgado's own admissions. That immediately tells readers they're about to read an evidence-driven investigation rather than an opinion piece. Here's how I'd open the blog. Open quote: "Their money was being used to make distributions. We used it for corporate events. We used it for personal spend. We used their funds to keep the company going. Christopher Delgado, former CEO of Goliath Ventures," close quote. "For years, I've investigated Goliath Ventures, speaking with victims, reviewing court records, examining company documents, analysing cryptocurrency transactions, and documenting what ultimately became one of the largest Ponzi schemes prosecuted in Central Florida. Following Christopher Alexander Delgado's guilty plea, WFTV investigative reporter Daralene Jones released more than 5.5 hours of exclusive interviews recorded shortly after his arrest. Until now, very few people have watched the entire series from beginning to end. Most have only seen brief television segments or selected clips shared online. This investigation is different. Rather than reacting to headlines or isolated sound bites, I'm going to examine every interview, every transcript, and every significant admission Christopher makes. Along the way, we'll identify every individual he names, reconstruct the timeline of events, follow the movement of investor funds and compare his explanations with court records, victim testimony, regulatory actions, and the evidence gathered throughout my own investigation. One of the most significant revelations
New donation
comes
from Nick
when
Petrillo.
Christopher openly
I know it
acknowledges
is.
that Goliath Ventures
Stop it.
never had its own investment product. Instead, the company relied on a white label platform known as My Liquidity Partners, MLP, something I documented long before these interviews were released. Even more remarkably, Christopher admits that investor money was used to pay distributions, fund company operations, cover personal spending, and finance extravagant corporate events, rather than generating genuine investment returns. Those admissions alone make these interviews an invaluable piece of evidence for understanding how the scheme operated behind the scenes. Over the coming sections, we'll slow everything down. Rather than rushing through more than 5 half-hours of footage, we'll examine it one section at a time, converting Christopher's own words into a structured investigative record. Every important timestamp will be preserved, every person he identifies will be documented, every claim will be assessed against independently available evidence, and every contradiction will be highlighted where the facts warrant it. Where Christopher discusses other individuals, I'll distinguish between his allegations, documented facts, and matters that remain unresolved, ensuring the investigation remains accurate and evidence-driven.
Wow.
This isn't intended to be a transcript, nor is it a reaction to a television interview. It's a forensic examination of Christopher Delgado's own account of how Goliath Ventures was built, how it attracted more than 1,000 victims, how hundreds of
New
millions
donation
of dollars
from Where Are
flowed
Nick's
through the
Girls?
company, and why the operation ultimately collapsed.
Keep me awake.
Each section below includes the original WFTV interview before my analysis begins, allowing you to watch Christopher's words in full before reading the evidence-based breakdown that follows. By the time we've finished all 5 interviews, we'll have transformed more than 5.5 hours of footage into what I hope becomes one of the most comprehensive public analyses of the Goliath Ventures Ponzi scheme ever published.
Wow, eh?
I also think this investigation
Wait, there's
deserves
more.
its own identity. Rather than simply calling it a blog, I'd treat it as a case file. Throughout the series, we'll be building a living record of the evidence with timelines, admissions, named individuals, money flows, and supporting documentation, all woven into the narrative. By the end, readers shouldn't just understand what Christopher Delgado said, they should understand how his account fits into the broader body of evidence surrounding the rise and collapse of Goliath Ventures. I think that approach will make this one of your strongest investigations to date.
See what a lovely relationship I have. Well, let's get into this. This is going to be really exciting because if you haven't got time to watch all these videos, which is 5.5 hours of your life you'll ever get back. So what we've basically done is we've set up an introduction, which you just heard. Obviously, if you go to Goliath at the top of my blog here, you can read all about My Liquidity Partners and yada, yada, yada. So what I will do, though, is I will copy that link there, copy the link address, come to here, and where we mention Goliath Ventures, we will link that back to Goliath Ventures, and that gives us an internal link, which is good for SEO. And we've got those covered, don't you worry, saving that. And so now what we need to do is we need to just read. So imagine that you've just watched part 1, and we've gone through with technology, and I love using technology. Remember, I'm dyslexic. I literally have a reading level of a 9-year-old. And I use technology like Einstein. And we've basically gone to part 1 and asked it to go through the whole transcript. It's got a knowledge base of 60 blogs that I've done with all my research, with all my team behind me. And then I'm hoping that this now nailed the contradictions that Christopher has said, and also the names of the individuals that he's mentioned. Now, remember the bad thing about about Goliath Ventures, they even went after people's 401ks. A lot of the little wordings that Christopher used were missed, and the human brain doesn't pick up on it sometimes. So let's see the breakdown using everything I just explained, and let's see what AI actually says about the breakdown of the first video of 5. Let's go.
Part 1, the CEO opens up hyme60hype.youtube.com/embed 3x6. Title, Former Goliath Ventures CEO Breaks Silence on Alleged Ponzi Scheme. Part 1.
Here we go.
The first interview begins with an important introduction from WFTV investigative reporter Daralene Jones, who explains that these interviews were recorded over several weeks while Christopher Delgado was on home confinement following his arrest. She also reveals that just days after WFTV aired its initial reporting, federal investigators subpoenaed the complete interview footage. Daralene makes it clear that Christopher names numerous individuals throughout the interviews, but because those claims had not been independently verified at the time, WFTV deliberately chose not to identify them in its broadcasts.
So there's lots of edits out there that we've seen
editorial
already.
decision reflects responsible journalism and provides important
like us.
context
We'll never
before
say anyone.
Christopher begins telling his version of events. Rather than sitting in a television studio, Christopher invites Daralene into his luxury Florida home. As the cameras move through unfinished rooms filled with unopened furniture and partially completed renovations, Christopher explains that the remodeling came to an abrupt halt because Goliath Ventures was bleeding money. He tells Daralene that he no longer had the funds to continue the renovations because investor payouts and outstanding company expenses had become overwhelming. He specifically mentions the company's lavish Christmas celebration at the Fontainebleau Miami Beach, describing it as another significant financial burden that remained unpaid while the business struggled to stay afloat. This opening immediately establishes a recurring theme that appears throughout the interviews. Christopher repeatedly describes a company suffering severe financial pressure while simultaneously maintaining an image of success through luxury events, expensive branding, and an executive lifestyle designed to project confidence. That contrast between public perception and financial reality becomes one of the defining patterns running throughout the entire Goliath Ventures story. Christopher then explains how the company received its name. He says he wanted a brand that conveyed strength, dominance, and invincibility, recalling the biblical story of Goliath as a figure people feared rather than challenged. Ironically, he recounts a conversation with his father, who warned him that Goliath ultimately fell. Looking back, Christopher reflects on how prophetic that warning became as regulators, investigators, journalists, and victims gradually dismantled the company he believed had become untouchable. As the conversation turns toward the structure of the business, Christopher begins distancing himself from several operational decisions. He describes how minimum investment thresholds, accredited investor requirements, and revised contracts were introduced as the company evolved, claiming these changes were necessary because activities were occurring outside his direct supervision. Those explanations become significant because they begin shifting responsibility toward other people inside the organization, a pattern that continues throughout the remaining interviews. One of the earliest names introduced is Nick Petrillo, whom Christopher identifies as playing a central role in developing a process that allowed retirement funds to be invested into Goliath Ventures. According to Christopher, investors could legally move money from retirement accounts, including 401k plans and pensions, into specially structured limited liability companies before the funds were transferred through Madison Trust and ultimately invested with Goliath Ventures. Christopher repeatedly insists that the mechanism itself was legal, while emphasizing that he was not the architect of the strategy and that these initiatives were being driven by others within the organization. Christopher also describes how the company's network of approximately 12 to 13 directors expanded Goliath Ventures far beyond his immediate circle. Friends introduced family members, colleagues recruited workmates, and eventually professionals, including firefighters, police officers, teachers, and nurses, became investors. According to Christopher, these directors had strong financial incentives to bring additional capital into the company through override commissions, creating a recruitment culture that continually sought new investors. As I listened to this section of the interview, one observation immediately stood out. Christopher spends considerable time explaining how money entered Goliath Ventures. yet provides almost no detail about how that money was supposed to generate legitimate investment returns. Instead, the discussion focuses on attracting capital, moving retirement funds into the business and expanding the investor base. That distinction becomes increasingly important as the interviews progress and Christopher begins making admissions about where investor money was actually being spent.
Ooh, so there you go. I don't know if I'll include that photo, but that's funny enough, one of the doctor's wives, the main Dr. Shekel, whatever his name was. I don't think we'll include that one. I'm just going to actually go undo. So what we've done there, as you can see, it's not very exciting though, I don't have to say, but because we can't get it to write lies, or I don't mean it like that. What I mean is it's very hard to get it to, expose people. So we've got the video and then we've got the house, and we could actually have a photo of Nick Petrillo. In fact, why don't we do everything that we should do? So what I'm going to do while I'm doing the next section is I will put the word next in there, and then we'll go into the next section and that will build that. But in the meantime, let's go back and find Nick Petrillo's photo. And let's see if we can find a nice photo of Nick Petrillo. So here's Nick Petrillo. So now, have we got any photos, images of Nick Petrillo that we could actually use here, which would be quite good? We've got all the normal ones. We've got the cars being returned. Maybe that's the photo that we want. So let's download that one. And let's see if we can actually get that name. So following the money begins. I don't know why this is the next section. Following the money begins. It must be the interview 2. So that might be video number 2. Let's have a read of the next section.
Following the money begins. As the interview moves deeper into the financial mechanics of Goliath Ventures, Christopher begins making some of the most significant admissions of the entire series. Rather than describing a profitable investment fund generating consistent external returns, he paints a picture of a company constantly balancing incoming investor money against mounting financial obligations. For anyone trying to understand how Goliath Ventures ultimately collapsed, this section provides valuable insight into the mindset of the company's leadership during its final months. Christopher explains that after making what he describes as the last full investor distribution in October 2025, his attention shifted almost entirely towards securing 2 enormous investment commitments. One involved an existing investor who, according to Christopher, intended to move $50 million of personal wealth into Goliath Ventures. The second was an even larger institutional opportunity worth approximately $200 million, which Christopher believed would fundamentally transform the business. According to Christopher, these deals represented what he considered the company's last opportunity to survive. He tells, if the $200 million commitment had been completed, it would have attracted hundreds of millions of dollars more from institutional investors and allowed Goliath Ventures to gradually move away from retail investors altogether. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, this explanation reveals just how dependent the business had become on attracting increasingly larger sums of new capital rather than demonstrating a proven track record of sustainable investment performance. Christopher also claims that Goliath Ventures had established its own investment fund during late 2024, although he struggles to recall the exact timeline. He says the company slowly transferred money into that fund whenever cash flow permitted, explaining that if the business had an extra $1 million or $2 million, those funds would be moved into the investment structure. That statement raises an obvious question. If investor funds were supposedly being invested on behalf of clients from the beginning, why was the company only gradually funding its own investment vehicle using whatever money happened to be left over? One of Christopher's most revealing admissions follows shortly afterwards when he reflects on commission payments. He says that, in hindsight, he should have eliminated commissions during 2025, believing that decision might have saved the company. Instead, he explains that management continued paying commissions because they feared recruitment would stop if affiliates no longer had a financial incentive to bring new investors into Goliath Ventures. That observation is particularly significant because it highlights how heavily the business relied on maintaining continuous investment inflows through its referral network. Christopher then describes becoming suspicious that people inside the organisation were enriching themselves at the company's expense. He says that by March or April 2025, he believed certain individuals were siphoning money from Goliath Ventures while deliberately allowing Christopher himself to become the public face of the collapse. Throughout the interview, he repeatedly suggests that others benefited financially while he would ultimately carry the blame. As the series progresses, Christopher names several individuals in support of that narrative. Those claims deserve careful examination alongside independently available evidence rather than being accepted at face value. The interview then reaches one of its first major admissions regarding the company's financial position. Christopher openly states that Goliath Ventures became insolvent, explaining that by the time federal investigators became involved, there was only around $160,000 remaining in the company's primary bank account.
Wow.
He also references additional funds held in Dubai, but the broader picture he presents is of a business that had exhausted almost all available liquidity despite having accepted hundreds of millions of dollars from investors. Daralene then challenges Christopher on executive compensation, asking why senior figures within the company were receiving such extraordinary payments. Christopher responds that some of the lowest paid senior members were earning approximately $60,000 per month, while others were making substantially more. When asked why those salaries remained so high despite the investment fund not yet producing meaningful returns, Christopher attributes the compensation structure to the original business model inherited from My Liquidity Partners, MLP. According to him, Goliath Ventures has simply continued paying people the way they had become accustomed to being paid, even though the company had not established a sustainable source of genuine investment profits.
Unreal, isn't it?
That explanation is one of the most important moments in the entire interview. Christopher effectively acknowledges that the compensation model survived even after the underlying business model no longer made economic sense. It reinforces a recurring pattern that will emerge repeatedly throughout these interviews. Maintaining the appearance of success took priority over confronting the financial reality unfolding behind the scenes.
Wow. We're obviously going to get behind in the reading here, but we're already on to part 2. I'm going to give you an idea. I think what we will do is I'm just going to give you a visual idea, but I think it would be worthwhile listening to the last section of the first video. Doesn't miss much, does it? Oops, sorry.
Admissions that change everything. As the interview progresses, Daralene Jones begins asking the questions that go to the very heart of how Goliath Ventures actually operated. Up until this point, Christopher Delgado has spoken about growth, branding, investor confidence, and ambitious plans for the future. Now the conversation shifts to what was really happening with investor funds, and Christopher's answers become some of the most significant admissions made anywhere in the 5-part series. Christopher explains that by October 2025, he already knew the company was in serious trouble. He says increasing criticism online triggered a wave of withdrawal requests from investors, forcing Goliath Ventures to issue tens of millions of dollars in termination payments over a matter of weeks. According to Christopher, approximately $70 million left the company during September and October 2025 as investors sought to recover their money. Whether those figures ultimately prove accurate or not, they illustrate the scale of the liquidity crisis confronting the business during its final months. One of the most revealing exchanges comes when Daralene challenges Christopher about the company's investment operations. She asks a straightforward question that every investor would expect to have a straightforward answer. If the company's own investment fund was delayed, where was everyone else's money? Christopher's response is remarkable. He acknowledges that investor money was being used to make distributions. When pressed further, he admits that those funds were also used for corporate events, personal spending, and keeping the company operating. There is no complicated financial explanation, no reference to sophisticated trading strategies, and no discussion of profitable investments generating external revenue. Instead, Christopher openly describes a business using incoming investor funds to meet existing obligations while simultaneously funding its operations and executive lifestyle. For anyone who has investigated Ponzi schemes, that admission immediately stands out. Throughout my own investigation into Goliath Ventures, one recurring question kept surfacing: where were the genuine investment profits? Christopher's explanation does little to answer that question. Instead, it reinforces what victims had feared for months, that investor capital was being recycled to sustain the operation, while management searched for larger investors capable of keeping the business alive. Christopher attempts to distinguish between intent and outcome.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's cool. Just been told by ChatGPT that it's already forgotten what I told it to do, which is a hard case. So that should be number 2. I'm just wondering if it still has access to these. It's telling me it's lost the files. Isn't that funny? Huh. But anyway, as you can see, it's struggling to find the text in the file. So I've had to redo that again, which is a shame because I only get limited how many times I can do stuff. So let's see where it got up to. So we started on number 2, and we've already started on number 2 video intro. So let's have a listen to this.
Part 2, The Dream, the Brand and the Beginning. Heimwit60 www.youtube.com/embed GLO655we. Title: Former Goliath Ventures CEO breaks silence on alleged Ponzi scheme. If the first interview establishes how Goliath Ventures collapsed, the second begins asking a different question. How did it become so successful in the first place? Rather than focusing on the final months of the company, Daralene Jones takes Christopher Delgado back to the beginning, exploring the events, relationships, and decisions that transformed what he describes as a small investment opportunity among friends into a business that would ultimately attract more than 1,000 investors and at least $250 million.
Uh-oh. Will it carry on? Anyway, it said something about a $215 million. Well, we know that's a wee bit out. At least, it says at least. One recurring theme all throughout the...
One of the recurring themes throughout this interview is Christopher's desire to separate the original idea from what Goliath Ventures eventually became. Time and again he describes an organization that, in his view, drifted away from its original purpose as more money flowed into the business. More promoters became involved and increasingly ambitious expansion plans took shape. Whether that distinction withstands scrutiny is something we'll continue examining as these interviews unfold, but it quickly becomes clear that Christopher wants viewers to believe there were effectively 2 versions of Goliath Ventures, the company he says he intended to build, and the one that ultimately collapsed.
Yeah, it's just crap, isn't it? It's just hard. So, yeah, we'll read that. I might read all the paragraphs. I'm actually going to do a separate video about this tomorrow, probably. Well, future, well, maybe not. But it's good to have a total breakdown from friends to millions. So, let's have a listen.
From friends and family to millions, Christopher repeatedly returns to the same argument throughout the second interview. Goliath Ventures began with what he describes as pure intentions. According to his account, there was no grand business plan, no sophisticated corporate structure, and no ambition to build an investment empire. Instead, he says the original concept was simply to allow friends to invest alongside one another after his own success with MLP. Christopher explains that before Goliath Ventures existed, he was already receiving substantial referral commissions from introducing investors to My Liquidity Partners. He tells Daralene that those commissions alone were generating between $50,000 and $75,000 per month in passive income. He says he had traveled to Dubai, met the people behind MLP, invested his own money, and spent almost a year satisfying himself that the opportunity was legitimate before recommending it to anyone else. According to Christopher, everything changed when Nick Petrillo wanted to receive a share of the referral commissions generated by people he introduced. Christopher says he agreed because at the time he viewed it as little more than friends helping friends. Looking back, he insists he never saw those early conversations as the foundation of a company that would eventually attract hundreds of millions of dollars from investors. Christopher then describes what he considers the birth of Goliath Ventures. He recalls meeting Nick Petrillo and Jason, whom he identifies as Jay, at Ava Mediterranean Restaurant. According to Christopher, it was Nick and Jason who proposed creating a business that would manage investments under the Goliath name. Nick, he says, believed he could bring in doctors and other high net worth contacts, while Jason would focus on leading sales and expanding the organization. Christopher portrays himself as agreeing to provide the brand while making one condition absolutely clear. He did not want to deal directly with investors. That detail stands out because it contrasts sharply with the public image many investors came to know. Christopher says his only responsibility in those early days was calculating how referral commissions should be divided between himself, Nick Petrillo, and Jason. Initially, those commissions were split equally before being adjusted according to who was contributing the most business. Christopher describes his own share as being more like a royalty because the company was operating under his name rather than reflecting the work he says others were doing to recruit investors. The pace of growth quickly exceeded everyone's expectations. Christopher says the original goal was to finish the year managing around $1 million in assets under management. Instead, within just a few months, investors had contributed more than $5 million. He is careful to point out that this was not profit earned by the business, but money entrusted to Goliath Ventures by investors. Even so, he describes this early success as the moment he realized they had something. Daralene then asks an obvious question that many readers will already be thinking. Did they have the licenses required to manage investor money? Christopher responds by saying they continually sought legal advice and believed they were operating within an arrangement involving friends and family investing alongside one another. That explanation would eventually evolve into a much larger discussion about regulation, compliance, and the legal structure underpinning Goliath Ventures. But even at this early stage, it becomes apparent that the business was expanding far faster than the informal concept Christopher says originally existed.
Have we spelt that wrong? What is it? Spelled it wrong. Is this the restaurant? Winter Park. I think it has spelled it wrong. Yeah, it must be it. Would be two of them. So that's a pretty flash restaurant they go to, is it? There was a restaurant they had, and they had a big argument in it, which was actually quite a hard case. But let's go back to the blog and let's go and get that name correct. We'll put that into code. There it is. And we'll go and make sure we spell that right. It's obviously gone by sound rather than the actual word. And we've got that right just in case we want to link to that. And obviously you can see that we have a picture there of Jay Newton. Jay Newton, second from right. Brilliant. Very hard to get a photo of him. You may have seen here the only other one they had. This is back in 2003. We've done our research, haven't we? I mean, this is Jay Newton here with the cap on, and then you've got Mike, Stephen Davis, and David Panzik, Nick Petrillo at the front left here, Michael Hernandez. I'm getting to know their names better. Tomo Marjanovic and Nick Bianco. When we originally got this picture, we didn't know everyone's name there, but there they are. This is a historical, meeting, which, to be honest, I kind of want to include that in this here somewhere because I think it's relevant that we have these photos. So as you am going to see if I don't even know how to do this. But let's go Lord Diego. What if I actually have this Lord Chris Diego? I might already have this on file. If we come back to the blog, because it actually talks about friends of millions, and if I can, I'll put it here. Let's see if I've actually got that photo. Oh, that's not the same one, is it? No, because that would be quite ironic if I have, and I don't there. But anyway, let's grab that photo. Lord Diago's GOLIATH Ventures LLC, and we'll put that in there. And I think where we can, we should include this stuff. So now we've got Lord. I think we need to have. I'm just going to put GOLIATH Ventures. Oh, hold up. 1 minute, please. Call up. Sorry, saves me doing this later. I think photos like this show that we've actually. Oh, what have I done wrong there, Danny? Let's go back. What did we do wrong? Wrong picture, I think. Oh, there we go. We've now got it. What did we do wrong there? I think we've got to go undo. And now we've got to click on that, add media, click that one there, and insert post. Yes, so that should be bold. All right, so now what we're going to have is a lovely blog that's going to have a few pictures in it, a bit of a load. There's Daralene. Is the first video you can watch. Part 1, you can see Nick. Follow the money where it begins. We get down to here, then we should see part 2, the dream, the brand, and the beginning. And then we talk about the investors, how GOLIATH was born. He used to work for Grant Cardone, which is quite interesting. Nick Madrillo and Jason. And then we mentioned we now got Jason Newton's real name. And then we've got the photo of all these boys hanging out together. Well, I don't think you can do too much better than that. There's only one problem that's causing me grief here. I'm just going to put a bracket in there to make it display a little bit better. And that there, /. Right, so that will, believe it or not, help it display with a space, for luck. Alrighty, so where are we up to now? Yeah, so there you go. So Jason used to be in our chat room, and he used to be blowing us up all the time. And then it wasn't until we found out where his daughter goes to university and mentioned that, he stopped coming into our chat room. And now he would be in serious shit, which is actually quite exciting, really. Just saying. All right, so let's read another paragraph. We won't read them all, but you'll get the gist of it. I want to document what we've got from these transcripts because they may disappear off the internet, and we're all about giving historical data, aren't we? So let's see what we're up to.
The moment Christopher says he should have stopped.
This is amazing.
As the second interview continues, Daralene Jones repeatedly asks Christopher Delgado the same fundamental question from different angles. If the investment product wasn't ready, why didn't you stop? It is one of the most important lines of questioning in the entire interview because Christopher is effectively being asked to explain why GOLIATH Ventures continued accepting investor money while its own investment platform remained unfinished. Christopher acknowledges that looking back, stopping the business would have been the logical decision.
Looking back.
He admits the proprietary fund kept missing one development milestone after another. First, it was expected to launch in March 2023, then April, then June. When summer arrived in Dubai, key personnel reportedly left the country and the timetable slipped again until September. Meanwhile, GOLIATH Ventures continued growing larger every month. Christopher openly accepts that new money continued flowing into the company despite there being no fully operational investment product, asking whether the decision to continue was driven by the lifestyle, the money, or a genuine belief that the business could still be rescued. Christopher rejects the suggestion that luxury motivated him at that stage. He says he was already financially successful before Goliath Ventures existed,
God.
was living in what he describes as a modest home following his separation, and had already accumulated personal wealth through earlier ventures. Instead, he claims his motivation was an unwillingness to accept failure and a belief that the technology would eventually work as promised. Whether readers find that eatily up to them. What stands out to me is that good intentions cannot replace an operational investment product. By Christopher's own account, the delays continued for months while new investors kept joining Goliath Ventures. Every additional investment increased the company's obligations, regardless of how confident management remained that the technology would eventually catch up. Christopher then draws an interesting comparison with Bernie Madoff. He says that, in his view, Madoff's operation ultimately collapsed because its overhead became unsustainable, not simply because markets turned against him. Christopher argues that Goliath Ventures faced a similar problem, saying the company was paying too many people too much money, particularly through commissions and overrides. Looking back, he believes that by the time he attempted to reduce those payments, the organization had grown too large and too many people had become financially dependent on the existing compensation model. That comparison is striking because it comes directly from distancing Goliath Ventures from one of history's most infamous Ponzi schemes. He identifies what he sees as a common operational weakness, an unsustainable cost structure fueled by continual payouts. He also acknowledges that despite holding the title of Chief Executive Officer, every attempt to reduce commissions or fundamentally change the business was met with resistance from people inside his own organisation. This section reinforces a pattern that has emerged throughout the interviews. Christoph's responsibility as CEO, while simultaneously describing a business in which major decisions were heavily influenced by partners, directors, and senior figures whose financial interests were tied to continued growth. As we move further into the series, he begins naming those individuals more directly and explaining the roles he believes they played in expanding Goliath Ventures into a business handling hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I just want to hear what it said about the Mark stuff. I was going to put a photo there of Mark. Charities. So the charities that he gave to, and obviously he's only trying to throw one under the bus and doesn't talk about the other 15 charities, nor does he talk about the money he gave Patrick Ben David so far. But we might find he did discuss it. I fell asleep when I was listening to it, but let's have a listen to see what he says about Mark.
Sure. Charity status and the Orlando machine. As Christopher continues explaining the rise of Goliath Ventures, the interview moves beyond crypto, commissions and investment structures into something just as important, social credibility. Goliath did not grow on numbers alone. It grew because people saw Christopher Delgado surrounded by respected names, high-profile events, expensive venues, charitable causes, and the kind of public visibility that made the company appear legitimate. One of the central organizations Christopher discusses is Runway to Hope, a Central Florida charity supporting families affected by pediatric cancer. Christopher says his involvement began through friends whose child had cancer, and that the charity's work resonated with him as a father. He describes wanting to become more involved, give generously, and eventually position Goliath Ventures as a major supporter within the community. This matters because charitable giving can create a powerful halo effect.
Oops.
When a company gives large sums to respected causes, people often assume the money must be legitimate. They see the photos, the public acknowledgements, the sponsorships, the gala events, and the wealthy people in the room. They assume due diligence has already been done by someone else. In reality, charity involvement can become one of the most effective ways for a fraudulent operation to buy trust, build influence, and gain access to networks that would otherwise be difficult to penetrate. Christopher also discusses Mark Nejame, a well-known Orlando attorney, saying Nejame contacted him in January 2024 after hearing rumors that Christopher may have been under investigation. According to Christopher, that phone call made his heart sink. He frames the moment as the first time he realized powerful people in Orlando were talking about him, not just because of Goliath Ventures, but because he had become the new centre of attention in certain wealthy social circles. What stands out here is how Christopher describes the world around Goliath as a game of access, status, and gatekeepers. He says he was getting close to wealthy families, charity circles, and influential people without understanding the unwritten rules of how those circles operated. In his telling, he was not simply building a company. He was entering a social ecosystem where visibility, generosity, and proximity to power mattered enormously. That ecosystem helped Goliath Ventures grow. Investors were not just looking at a spreadsheet, they were looking at the rooms Christopher entered, the people he stood beside, the charities that accepted his money, and the lifestyle that surrounded him. The tragedy is that this public image appears to have been built while the underlying investment model was already under stress. The MLP white label product had failed, and the company was still searching for a functioning way to generate the returns it had promised. The more Christopher describes this period, the clearer the pattern becomes. Goliath Ventures was not only selling an investment, it was selling belonging, status, and proximity to success. That made the scheme far more persuasive than a simple crypto pitch. It became a social club, a business network, and a public identity wrapped around an investment product that, by Christopher's own admission, had still not been properly built.
I just think that's quite fitting to have a quote there from Bernie Madoff, which probably doesn't quite fit in, but I'm making it fit in now. Bernie Madoff. Right, and obviously I've added a photo. I think I'm going to actually reverse that. Let's go back there. That's better. So the quote that we're going to add for Bernie is this.
When I began my Ponzi scheme, I believed it would end shortly, and I would be able to extricate myself and my clients. Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, so that's incredible. All right, so where are we up to now? This is what we do. This is going to be a massive blog, but I kind of don't care because I've been up all night. Let's get rid of that. Let's do part 2. As you know, here part 2 is expired from the working contents. I don't want to fabricate pre-upload, so it's losing its memory. That's interesting, isn't it? So let's go back to here and right-click, copy. It's only limited, so there we go. There we go. So let's hopefully we can carry on. Let's see where it gets up to. It's going to lose its way, and then we'll get halfway through writing a really good blog, and it will fall over at the end. Let's hope not. So we're up to, this is part 2. So we'll actually shut down part 2. We'll shut down that window. Process of elimination. We don't need that anymore. That was me as well, so we don't need that anymore. We'll leave that open in case we leave. We don't need the restaurant anymore. But then again, they do have a website, so let's have a look. Let's see, look at some of the restaurants that they were. Oh my goodness. So this is the restaurant they went out for a dinner with to just talk about. I wonder if they've got photos of Christopher there. So I'm going to actually search for that, and we will link to them. We might as well support the local businesses while we can. Well, we've got A to A. Let's see. Let's go back to there. Let's see if we can figure out where that restaurant is. There it is. Let's go, and we'll, because they hosted Christopher, they might as well become world famous in my blog. And we'll make sure that opens in a new window. Support the locals, I say. Let's see what we get to now. Has that carried on? It has. So let's see. 3rd of September. Now, this is the exciting part because this is where they actually mentioned me in my article. So let's have a listen to see what ChatGPT said, whether it was clever enough to pick it up.
When the spotlight turned into scrutiny, as the second interview draws towards its conclusion, the conversation shifts from the mechanics of Goliath Ventures to the moment Christopher Delgado says he realized everything around him was beginning to change. Up until this point, he has described rapid growth, ambitious expansion plans, and a belief that the company could still recover. Now, for the first time, he begins describing the point where public scrutiny started replacing public admiration. Christopher reflects on decisions he wishes he had made much earlier. Looking back, he says that once My Liquidity Partners, MLP, froze, the company should have fundamentally restructured or even stopped altogether.
Nice to see
Instead
you here,
of
my
carrying
friend.
the existing business model forward year after year, he now believes Goliath Ventures
Answer
should
your
have
question in a second.
effectively started again from zero. According to Christopher,
Nice to see you, mate.
had management accepted the losses
You're looking well in
associated
your
with
photo.
MLP and ceased taking new investor money at that point, the legal and financial consequences may have been dramatically different. It is another moment where hindsight dominates the conversation, with Christopher acknowledging that the decisions made after the
ready to
MLP
publish something yet,
failure
mate?
only increased the company's exposure. Christopher's growing involvement with Runway to Hope, a respected Central Florida charity supporting children battling cancer and their families. He explains that friends whose child had received assistance through the charity introduced him to the organization. Initially, he and those around him made relatively modest donations.
We'll actually stop that there. So what we're doing actually here, Zeke, is we're actually building this live, and it's not live yet. I haven't finished it. So what I've done is we have gone through the complete 5 videos, taken out the transcript, and then use my knowledge, as you know, being a reporter. I bet you don't write them like this. As we go down, and we've just basically gone through the transcript, and we're using that to create the blog. But when it's finished, I'll actually message it to you anyway, if you like. But yeah, it's not live because I'm building it. So I'm just going to see how far we get through it. But what was really cool was with that video that we had, which I think I can actually find it through here. Send you here, mate. I want to show you something pretty cool. If we go to videos, it was video number 2, and I think it was about 5 minutes in.
We had told him that things would...
It was video number 2, and he actually talks about the moment when he found out I started publishing stuff. Let's have a listen to this.
What I found out was people weren't talking about my company.
That might be just before it.
I was the new hot thing on the block. I was the one getting all the attention with Mark. I'm getting ready for the gym.
Here we go.
I'm at my house in Kings Point. And I look down, my phone's ringing, and it says Mark Nejame. And I'm like, perfect. I literally pick up the phone. I'm walking around my kitchen. And I'm like, hey, Mark. I'm like, I'm glad you called. I've actually been meaning to get in contact with you. And he goes...
Here, he's literally just trying to throw Mark under the bus. Mark, in my opinion, Mark had done the right thing and walked away from this company when Christopher wouldn't open the books. And I've got that straight from the horse's mouth. So whether Mark's lying or Chris's lying, Mark's done more and better stuff for the community than Christopher. So here's Christopher, a criminal who's now pleaded guilty, who's going to get 50 years in prison if he doesn't help out the FBI and all those people, Homeland Security, Department of Justice. And here he is still controlling the narrative by being in the media with WFTV. And he's still trying to say that Mark has something to do with his downfall. But in this, I think he's oversaid it, where he's about to say it is when he got the first article that I just linked to on the 3rd of September. So that's why I'm playing this.
Hey, Chris, I'm calling because I'm hearing rumors around town, and I think you're under investigation.
Yeah.
And my heart sunk.
Oh, sorry, Chris. See, they just cut out a whole section there. Now, they said earlier on, if you go back to the start of these videos, that they weren't going to let people, it wasn't going to name individuals. However, maybe they will say my name. Not that here we go.
What I found out was people weren't talking about my company. I was the new hot thing on the block. I was the one getting all the attention. All these guys that were it in Orlando were going to London House, and
no, it must have been just
whether
before.
they're cheating on their wives. To my life at a very interesting time, right after my birthday.
Here it is. I sang happy birthday.
The things were happening online.
Here we go.
Wait, you mean 24?
No, 25. When I was seeking counsel.
I'm talking about Mark Nejane.
Oh, that. Mark came into my...
Nah, I can't find it.
January 2024.
But what we're getting to is this, the spotlight turned to scrutiny. Where have we get to? Is this done? The spotlight turned to scrutiny. Have I got that part? So let's have a look, see where we're up to. Oh, I've got all this stuff here. And spotlight turned to scrutiny. And now we're back to the image was everything. So we'll just listen to this one until we do the next paragraph and make sure I can keep up with it.
Image was everything. As the second interview continues, Christopher Delgado offers an unusually candid insight into how status, appearance, and perception became intertwined with the growth of Goliath Ventures. Rather than describing luxury as a personal ambition from the outset, he portrays it as something he gradually adopted after entering
observations of the last part of 2, and then we'll start
part
video
2
number 3.
observations. By the end of the second interview, a much clearer picture has emerged of how Christopher Delgado wants history to remember Goliath Ventures. He does not describe a business that began as a deliberate Ponzi scheme. Instead, he presents a narrative of an ambitious company that grew too quickly, relied too heavily on My Liquidity Partners, MLP, paid excessive commissions, surrounded itself with the wrong people, and failed to stop when the warning signs became impossible to ignore. Whether that explanation is ultimately accepted is another matter. Throughout this interview, Christopher makes several significant admissions. He acknowledges that Goliath Ventures relied on a white label investment product, admits that the company's own investment platform repeatedly failed to launch on time, accepts that commissions became unsustainable, and concedes that management should have fundamentally restructured or stopped taking new investor money much earlier. Perhaps most importantly, he openly admits that the company continued operating while searching for a solution that never arrived. Return becomes increasingly apparent. Christopher consistently portrays himself as someone who was misled, resisted, or undermined by others. Throughout the interview, he attributes major operational decisions to trusted business partners, senior directors, advisors, and influential people around him. Those explanations may ultimately prove accurate, partially accurate, or inaccurate, but they establish an important theme that continues throughout the remaining interviews.
All right, so let's get into 3. We'll get past that one there. You can read the blog in its entirety after we've finished, but let's not make this an all-day event.
The Inner Circle, 56315, sarkseat.youtube.com/embed/Camry. Former Goliath Ventures CEO breaks silence on alleged Ponzi scheme, Part 3. The third interview marks a noticeable change in tone. During the first 2 installments, Christopher Delgado spends much of his time explaining how Goliath Ventures was founded, why he believed in My Liquidity Partners, MLP, and how the company expanded beyond what he originally intended. By Part 3, the conversation becomes considerably more personal. Christopher begins discussing relationships inside the company, internal disagreements, and the individuals he believes exercised significant influence over Goliath Ventures as it grew into a business handling hundreds of millions of dollars. Rather than focusing solely on the mechanics of the investment operation, Christopher increasingly attempts to explain how decisions were made behind closed doors. He continues to accept that, as Chief Executive Officer, ultimate responsibility rested with him. At the same time, he argues that Goliath Ventures had evolved into an organization where senior directors, business partners, and trusted advisors all played meaningful roles in shaping the company's direction. Throughout this interview, those distinctions become increasingly important because Christopher repeatedly identifies individuals whom he says influenced major decisions while the company continued expanding. One point is already becoming clear. These interviews are no longer simply about Christopher Delgado defending his own actions. They are becoming an account of who he believes helped build Goliath Ventures, who benefited from its extraordinary growth, and who remained involved as the business moved ever closer to collapse. As always, those claims will need to be carefully assessed against documentary evidence, financial records, and any future developments in the broader investigation.
Yeah, I've been up all night watching the videos, but I'm just texting you that now. It's like, the commission machine part 3 continues. It is actually really good. It is actually good for me to actually listen to these because it's to me. I looked at these videos and discussed. I don't believe these should actually be on the internet. I don't think he should have got a voice. And it's quite good to actually see how much by getting the transcript. And then looking at my historical blogs and then putting it all together, it actually it's like if you were writing a book and you wanted it to be truthful and accurate. Nothing I've heard of so far makes me cringe. Nothing I've heard of actually isn't the truth. And the truth speaks volumes. If I'd, narrated the whole, investigation to accuse him of something he potentially couldn't have done, this wouldn't make sense now, but it all makes sense. It all comes together like a jigsaw puzzle. It's incredible how accurate what's happening is, and even Christopher's now tried to control the narrative and explain his point of view of it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, let's carry on.
The commission machine, as part 3 continues, the interview moves beyond technology and into the compensation model that helped fuel Goliath Ventures' extraordinary growth. This is one of the most revealing sections in the entire interview because Christopher Delgado begins explaining not just how investors were recruited, but how senior insiders were rewarded for bringing in more money. Christopher focuses much of this discussion on Nick Petrillo, describing him as one of the company's most influential business partners. According to Christopher, Nick wasn't simply earning commissions on investors he personally introduced. Instead, he says Nick received an override across the entire fund, allowing him to benefit from investment activity throughout the organization. Christopher estimates those payments reached approximately $4 million per month, explaining that Nick was receiving between 1% and 2% on a fund managing roughly $300 million. Those figures, if accurate, illustrate the extraordinary sums flowing through Goliath Ventures during its peak. Daralene then asks an obvious question. How did Nick attract so much money? Christopher says many high net worth investors, particularly medical professionals, were offered what he repeatedly describes as sweetheart deals. Rather than receiving the standard returns available to ordinary investors, Christopher alleges that selected doctors were promised enhanced returns of 7% or even 8.5%, while also receiving additional incentives for introducing colleagues into the fund.
Wow, so it could be 10%,
According to Christopher,
12%.
those doctors would then recruit fellow practitioners with portions of the promised returns effectively being shared as referral incentives. It was, in his words, an increasingly aggressive recruitment model designed to accelerate growth. Daralene follows up with perhaps the most important question of the exchange. Where was the money coming from to pay those enhanced returns?
Obvious.
Christopher's answer is remarkably direct.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that the money was coming from new investors.
Unreal.
He explains that Goliath Ventures had substantial investment inflows and that those incoming funds were being used to satisfy the growing obligations created by the compensation structure. When Daralene asks whether this amounted to robbing Peter to pay Paul, Christopher agrees that by that stage it had effectively become exactly that. This is one of the clearest admissions made anywhere in the interview series because it describes investor money being recycled to satisfy obligations created by earlier investment promises rather than being generated through profitable external investment activity. Christopher says the company reached a point where the payout obligations had become too large.
Wow.
Looking back, he believes Goliath Ventures should have frozen distributions when it transferred approximately $60 million into its own investment fund and fundamentally restructured the business before continuing. Instead, management continued relying on what he describes as the company's reputation for always making distributions on time, or even early. According to Christopher, that reputation became one of Goliath Ventures' greatest strengths during its rise, but ultimately one of its greatest weaknesses because management became determined to preserve it at almost any cost. Daralene then asks who made the decision to continue operating under that model. Christopher's response is significant. Rather than placing responsibility solely on himself or on Nick Petrillo, he identifies 3 people as collectively understanding exactly what was happening: Christopher Delgado, Nick Petrillo, and Matt Burks. According to Christopher, all 3 were aware of the financial pressures facing the business and travelled repeatedly to Dubai in an effort to push the long-delayed investment platform into production. Looking back, Christopher summarises the problem with a striking observation. We fed the greed too much, not only to the investors, but to the employees. That statement may be one of the most revealing admissions in the entire interview. Rather than blaming technology alone, Christopher acknowledges that the compensation model itself had become unsustainable. As more investors joined, larger commissions were paid, greater expectations were created, and the financial obligations continued expanding. By the time management recognized the scale of the problem, Christopher says the business had already reached a point where simply stopping no longer seemed possible.
Unreal, isn't it? Now, just looking at these names, it's spelt the names wrong. And a couple of these here. So I'm going to get the name right. So we've got that name there. So we're just going to see J. So how many times have we got that guy's name spelt wrong? Yeah, so we need to fix that. So unlike real journalism, Danny's just going to put their full names in here. So that's his name, and that's the proper name. And funny enough, we already had this individual's name in our database, would you believe? So that's good. Right, and then the other one was Derek, and it's... I think that's actually said it wrong. So I could be wrong here, but the Derek name doesn't exist. No, it doesn't. So we need to go Derek. And I'm pretty sure we're looking at these individuals. So based in Dubai. So if I update that, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. And then also named Derek. And I think it's just said it picked up the word wrong. All right, so what we need to do now is put that there. Now I've got that guy's name. So if I can, I want to see observation 3. We'll go to that one there. Where we talk about him here, white labeling. So that we're talking about these 2 individuals. So let's get the first one, and then we'll get the second one. Technically speaking, so let's see what we can do here without going crazy. So far, the first image is good. Second image is clean as well. So let's go. Now, if I don't have these pictures right, excuse me to the people who are the real one. This is live journalism, everybody. And I'm just about got it right. Ooh, right. So now we've got a couple of images to throw in here. So we'll just do both of them at the same time. I'll do one at a time. 1, 2. And what have we got wrong here? Got Mark's name still in there. Alrighty, so what we should have is we'll have... So these are the people which I should have... so these are the 2 people that Christopher said that he was hired as a consultant. Although he was either using them as a consultant. Hold it. I just need to poke this in the right place. We'll get this right eventually. So this is the photos. And what we'll do, we'll just go and grab the next section, which observation 3, where it talks about these individuals that I'm just adding pictures in. I'll let you listen to that.
Part 3, observations. By the end of the third interview, one theme rises above everything else. Christopher Delgado is no longer simply explaining what happened. He is attempting to explain why it happened. Throughout the interview, he repeatedly returns to the same narrative. He says Goliath Ventures began with genuine intentions, that the collapse of My Liquidity Partners MLP forced the company into survival mode, that delays in developing its own platform created mounting pressure, and that a combination of greed, poor decision-making, and misplaced trust ultimately pushed the business beyond the point of recovery. Whether that explanation is accepted is ultimately for the courts, investigators, and readers to decide. What cannot be ignored, however, are Christopher's own admissions. He confirms that Goliath Ventures initially operated using a white label investment product, acknowledges that the company's own platform repeatedly failed to launch, admits that new investor money continued flowing into the business while those delays persisted, and accepts that the compensation structure became unsustainable. He also agrees with Daralene's characterization that, by this stage, new investor money was effectively being used to satisfy existing obligations, while continuing to describe efforts to keep the company alive. Those are not observations made by outside critics. They come directly from Christopher himself. Another significant feature of Part 3 is the number of individuals Christopher names. Nick Petrillo occupies much of the discussion, with Christopher alleging that Nick negotiated preferential arrangements for doctors, approved enhanced returns, and oversaw a substantial recruitment network. He also names Matt Burks, Junaid, Derek, and several unnamed directors as people who, according to Christopher, played important roles in shaping Goliath Ventures behind the scenes. Those claims are serious. Some may ultimately be supported by documentary evidence, while others may remain disputed. At this stage, they should be understood as Christopher Delgado's account, not established findings of fact. Perhaps the most striking moment comes when Christopher reflects on the culture inside the company. He says, "We fed the greed too much." That statement is revealing because it goes beyond blaming technology, regulation, or bad luck. Instead, Christopher acknowledges that the organization had created expectations that became impossible to sustain. Investors expected monthly returns, directors expected commissions, senior figures expected overrides, employees expected extraordinary salaries. The business had become dependent on maintaining all of those expectations simultaneously. From my perspective, the third interview reinforces something I recognized very early in my own investigation. The product was never the main attraction. The attraction was confidence. Confidence in Christopher Delgado, confidence in luxury, confidence in professional branding, confidence in respected business people, confidence in doctors, lawyers, charity events, and influential introductions, confidence that everyone else had already done the due diligence. By the end of Part 3, that confidence has begun to unravel. Christopher's own admissions reveal a company that was increasingly dependent on hope, replacing evidence, future promises replacing present reality, and new capital replacing genuine investment performance. The fourth interview moves even closer to the criminal investigation itself. Christopher begins discussing his interactions with investigators, his legal strategy, the federal case against him, and why he believes other individuals remain central to the story of Goliath Ventures. It is in those conversations that some of the most consequential claims of the entire 5-part series begin to emerge.
Wow. I'm just loving this. This is so accurate and it's so cool. So we're just going to start Part 4 now, video number 4.
Part 4, the collapse and the investigation. iframe mythical 5x3 heinconfsit /eu.youtube.com/embed think for former Goliath Ventures CEO breaks silence on alleged Ponzi scheme, Part 4. The fourth interview opens at a point where Goliath Ventures was already in its final stages. Gone are the discussions about launching new products, expanding into institutional markets, and building the next phase of the business. Instead, Christopher Delgado describes a company desperately trying to survive while believing that one final transaction could still change.
Whoops. It's gone. Change everything. Hold it. Let's just read that manually. Change everything. We will read those two paragraphs because they are interesting. We'll come
According
back
to Christopher, the business was pinning its hopes on two enormous institutional opportunities. The first involved an existing investor from New York who, he says, wanted to transfer $50 million of personal wealth into Goliath Ventures.
Oh my God.
Christopher also claims the same individual was involved in assembling an additional $200 million investment that would fundamentally restructure the company and transition it away from retail investors. Christopher describes those proposed investments as the company's final lifeline. He says the plan was to move investor funds into Goliath Ventures' own investment fund, begin generating genuine profits and gradually phase out retail investors during 2026. Looking back, he insists that if those institutional deals had closed before the end of 2025, Goliath Ventures could have survived. It is another example of Christopher returning to a familiar theme throughout these interviews, the belief that success was always just one deal away.
So this is absolutely amazing. So this is number 4 video. So in here somewhere, he talks about that, and this is the crazy thing. So he was, it must be around about here when I was talking, but here he is saying that if some rich guy come along and put in 50 million or 200 million, that he could have restructured the Ponzi scheme, and then maybe the bleed rate could have been less. I mean, this is how delusional these guys are. The arrogance of what this guy has done and the misuse of people's money. That's a really good photo of you right there, Chris. I mean, it's just
flying back from Dubai, I asked for assurances that I wasn't going to get arrested
at the airport.
At the airport. My attorney was told that they had no interest in arresting me at the airport. So that gave me a sigh of relief. I think in my mind, I played that over and over again.
Like when he was in Croatia on the yachts, the 3 super yachts, Andrew Tate, I don't know if you remember that. Let's think X. So we notified Homeland Security that we'd found Christopher on one of these 3 yachts. So this video that you see here, you can actually come through here and you can actually, I think it's, I even know it's off by heart. So 103, 104, about 103 here, you'll see, oh, it's actually the timings are wrong. There's Christopher, Tomo, and Mike. And we do know of another individual that we've talked to that was going to be on this boat that couldn't make it, which is ironic. But when we notified Homeland Security, we said, do you know where these guys are at the moment? They're with Andrew Tate on 3 yachts in Croatia. And they said, we know, we're all over it. So they were monitoring these guys at the time, which is absolutely fantastic. And this whole thing here was to promote a thing called the War Room, which if you talk out about the War Room and discuss anything that's publicly that's discussed in their meetings, you've signed an NDA where you're going to get sued for $5 million. But look at all the people that are involved in this. The majority of people, this keeps on getting updated, the majority of people in these meetings, it's like a brotherhood. Now, they didn't want anything to do with Christopher. For some reason, Christopher wouldn't allow them to know where the money had gone. And it was absolutely amazing. But, you know, these are all, they even did, you can actually, you know, they went to this thing that looked like they were in a jail. This is when they went out for dinner. And obviously there's so much more coming out about this that I can't even tell you. But if you have a look in a second, you should see Tomo walking in with Mike. And there's Mike there. So there's Tomo, there's Mike. Mike's currently hiding in Dubai. He's a Canadian guy, has to come back every 6 months to Canada to get his passport stamped. What do you think is going to happen when he turns up here? And then Tomo, well, he hasn't been paying his staff's 401k for 4 years. We've got people who used to work for him who've reached out to us given us a statement that they've gone to the police. Now, this guy's been spending more money on his business than's coming in the door. What do you think he's funding this business? Now, we've heard rumours that he's got no money left. His last flight, he had to go via Poland. I looked it up, and then went to Egypt, first class, of course, but he's using his miles. This guy is Tomo, an ex-policeman who's claiming that he was 12 years in financial fraud, and the police officer was a beat cop, giving parking tickets and pulling up people for speeding. And we've heard that from, people that know him. So he was claiming to be some financial person in the police force who knew all about, fraud and an investigator and all this sort of crap. Absolutely personal. But anyway, everything that we've learned recently is Tomo is broke. Even his Aston Martin that he was putting out for display has been sold or repossessed or whatever it is. And obviously his businesses, and we've reached out to people that are associated to him in his business and tried to warn them and all sorts of things. So it's going to be fun watching these guys unravel. But listen to this bullshit of Christopher is just batshit crazy. Honestly, it is.
Thinking if they didn't arrest me at the airport, why would they arrest me in their office? Mm-hmm. But you just don't know. And so that's why I wanted to be with my kids, because I didn't know if that was the last time I was going to see them, and the next time they see me is I'm on TV.
Mm.
Poor Christopher.
Do they know what's going on?
Oh, yeah. This is good. Do your kids know what's going on? Yeah, daddy's
when I self-surrendered, I was told that it was going to be private, and no one from the news was there. No one from the news knew that I was self-surrendering. No one also knew that I had self-surrendered my passport 2 weeks before that. So, to clear the record, agents didn't kick down my door. My house was never raided.
Doesn't mean
and I wasn't taken into handcuffs. I walked into the U.S. Marshal's office. I gave them my ID. They confirmed my identity.
Did you?
And I was escorted into the back for processing. I was told, I was asking a lot of questions. Right, I was told that, first off, I was never read my Miranda rights.
Oh. Well, I think we're past that at this point.
I'm joking. I don't even know if they're supposed to.
I don't know how that works on the federal level.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
I think a criminal complaint is your...
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think that's the biggest thing.
Handed yourself in.
Wasn't indicted. The government just filed a criminal complaint against me. And so even when I sat in court, there was no guilty or not guilty plea. Mm-hmm. And I was free to leave that day.
Free
with
to leave
a piece of jewelry.
Why is it flashing red now? What does that mean?
It just means it's not charging.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so you put the charger on and it charges, and then it'll flash screen.
Did you know you were going to have to wear an ankle monitor? Well, first, what does that mean? Like, you can't leave your house? Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, they use cellular and wireless connection to basically pinpoint the exact location where you are in your home. And so, no, I didn't know. I knew that I wouldn't be able to leave the U.S. I didn't know that I'd be on home confinement. I thought, because there's different ways they can restrict your travel. And so basically they're saying we don't want him leaving the Central District of Florida, which goes all the way to Tampa and all the way up north to Gainesville, or to Jacksonville. And I said, fine. Like, that's easy enough. And then it was, we also want him to wear an ankle monitor and be confined to his home.
Oh, dearie me.
And that was, in court was the first time I...
And just for anyone that knows anything about those sandals, they are $1,000 sandals, but they are the female version. I got told that by an expert shoe lover.
I had then found out my restrictions of movement.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is to come from all of this?
What do you mean?
You have said a lot today.
Yeah.
You know, you face, I mean, if indicted and convicted, face a lot of time in prison.
Ooh, yeah.
One, I needed our investors to hear what was actually happening, the truth, not what they see online, not
Me.
what they can read or what's been told to them, the actual truth. The actual truth that I was fighting for them.
Oh, rubbish.
But
That's
there
where
were
it gets
a lot
rich.
of adversity.
He was fighting for the people that gave him this money, and he bought 12 sports cars, 18 Rolex watches, and 8 properties, and traveled around in a Learjet, wear all the best clothes, got more boxes from Tiffany's than you can poke a stick at. But he was really working for the investors. I mean, can you actually believe what he just said? I mean, this is batshit crazy. And honestly, guys, I mean, this guy's trying to say that he was working for the investors, and he had no investments. Nothing from his company. He was using a white labeled service, a white labeled Ponzi scheme that had fallen over to get returns. So he was taking money from Goliath Ventures and putting it into My Liquidity Partners, hoping that was going to generate returns for his investors. How disgusting is that? I mean, that's what this guy's done.
There was a lot of pushback, even from some investors. It wasn't just directors, but even some investors, when we would try to make changes, even they would push back. I also don't want them to feel like I abandoned them. You know, yes, one aspect is that I could go to prison for a very long time. The other aspect, too, is if I am given the ability,
I
have always paid my debts. I have always
listen to this.
Covered my losses.
I remember listening to this now.
The restitution that needs to be made, I am the best man for that. I have a vast network of opportunity and people. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of skills. And people that have lost money, I can make that restitution happen.
Where do you get $320 million from?
Well, it's not 300 million. You know, yeah.
Where do I mean, it's a lot of money. I mean, how do you?
No, it is a lot of money, but there's also a lot of opportunity. Mm-hmm. You're talking about an individual who has an international network.
So
an individual who has faced a lot of challenges and who has succeeded in a lot of those challenges. I'm facing the biggest battle of my life right now, yeah. Both on my company being thrown into bankruptcy and secondly, facing prison. But if given the opportunity, I know I can figure it out. I know I can rebuild. I know all the right people. I know the mistakes I made. I know the positions to take and to fight on.
So you would try to build a fund again?
Not a fund. No, I don't think I would build or get into finance ever again. I never wanted this from the beginning. I said that from the beginning of this. What Goliath is today, I never wanted. I had no dream or aspiration to run a company like we ran. I stepped in at a necessity. So it wouldn't be a fund, but there are other opportunities out there.
Like what?
To make a lot of money.
Like what?
That'll be in the book.
What do you regret?
My life? Not being able
I
to drink?
regret not putting my foot down when I should have put my foot down. And that was January of 23 when everything froze. Been a much different conversation. I would have done the right thing. Even though I lost people's money, I would have done the right thing. You know, you're scared of your reputation, your ego plays a big part of it, your relationships. But I could have stood on the hill and said, I stopped because the operation stopped. And we couldn't take any more money.
Couldn't take any more money. Batshit crazy, isn't it?
You could have done what you did way back when you walked into your boss's office and said, I'm the person who gave the employees the wristbands. Did you just... You didn't want to be a failure.
I never failed in my life.
Well, here's now. Oh my goodness, this is rich.
I had never had a defeat. Even when I was fired from In-N-Out Burger, I had money to pay for my mortgage, and I was only unemployed for 8 days.
You're a friggin' hero,
I
Chris.
didn't count that as a failure because I didn't let down my family.
Got
I
taken
still
down by
could put food on the
a
table. I still
YouTuber
could
that only
pay for
gets
the
30
roof over our
views
heads.
on his websites.
And I was employed back in 8 days. I didn't count being fired from Grant Cardone because I was already resigning and I already had hundreds of thousands of dollars in my bank account. That was a success to me. They could have fired me. I don't care what they call it. I walked out of there with more money than I walked in. I had never had an obstacle in my life that I failed at or was defeated over. And I wasn't going to let this.
Do you regret being caught?
Be the start
Exactly
of it.
right. We stopped him.
I also didn't know that what Goliath was today is what we were building.
Building nothing.
We were building this to... My friends were all busy with work, and I was the only one that was semi-retired. I was the only one that was having fun.
Unreal.
And they all wanted to have fun with me and have more time with their kids and take vacations and do all these things. Man. Goliath started with just...
Delusional.
If we can all make an extra $1 million or $2 million together, then we can go travel. I would always tell them I hated going to the Ritz-Carlton by myself. You know? It was fun. It wasn't a business. Then when it turned into a business, they couldn't fail.
I haven't seen the rest of your house.
You want to take a walk?
I do.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Is that where... You tell me. I mean, how many square feet?
It's 11,000 square feet.
Why does one person need... Well, you have the kids.
I have the kids. I
just
do a lot of...
outside where I am in New Zealand and it's dark. No doubt it's the middle of the night for you guys or 2 o'clock in the morning. Thanks for being here if you're still here. Probably the last paragraph is something I do want to have read. Just see where we get to. I'll read a bit of funny stuff. But let's have a listen and see what it says.
Not quite. I think there's one more section that would make this a much stronger investigative piece, and it's the section you showed me earlier from the Department of Justice. I'd finish the blog with something like this. Justice continues to move forward. This brings us to where the case stands today. Since these interviews were recorded, Christopher Alexander Delgado has pleaded guilty in federal court to operating the Goliath Ventures Ponzi scheme. The question is no longer whether the scheme existed. Christopher has admitted it. The investigation, however, is far from over. The latest filing by the US Department of Justice confirms investigators have now identified more than 1,000 victims with losses exceeding $250 million. More than 1,600 victim responses have already been received, demonstrating the extraordinary scale of the fraud. The filing also confirms that investigators continue reviewing company records, bank accounts, and cryptocurrency wallets while verifying every victim's claim. According to prosecutors, they expect much of that work to be substantially completed by the end of July 2026, bringing the case another step closer to sentencing and ultimately restitution. Because of the sheer number of victims, the Department of Justice has asked the court to continue using an alternative victim notification process. Rather than attempting to contact every victim individually, prosecutors will continue updating the official case website, emailing identified victims, and enrolling victims into the victim notification system, ensuring everyone receives updates as the case progresses. For victims, this is genuinely encouraging news. Justice in a case of this size was never going to happen overnight. Identifying thousands of transactions across traditional bank accounts and cryptocurrency wallets takes time. Verifying every investor claim takes time. Recovering assets takes time. But the process is moving forward. If you invested in Goliath Ventures and have not yet identified yourself to the Department of Justice, now is the time to do so. Every verified victim matters when it comes to restitution and ensuring the full scale of this fraud is recognised by the court. More importantly, these interviews should not be viewed as the final chapter. They are one man's account of how Goliath Ventures rose and fell. The court proceedings, financial records, blockchain analysis, and any future prosecutions will ultimately determine the complete story. For me, this investigation has never been about one individual. It has always been about following the evidence, documenting the truth, and giving victims a voice. Christopher Delgado has now admitted his role. The next question is one that many victims are still asking. Who else knew, who else profited, and who else will ultimately be held accountable? I actually think this is the proper ending. It brings the story from the beginning of Goliath Ventures through
cool,
Christopher's 5 interviews right
now,
up to today.
The reason I wanted to bring that out is because a couple of reasons. I'll just upload a file. I'll just make sure I've got the file name correct. Motion for it. So, yeah, so 1 minute, please call it. Just give me a second to upload some files. Uploading files in my life is tricky, but especially when they get too big for my server. But we are there. Oof, excuse me. Alrighty. Okay, so let's go back to the website. The latest filing. There's two things I want to do. I think I might do this a bit different. So what I want to do is I want to go grab a picture. This one here. It's going to be quite an informative blog, one-stop shop for a lot of victims, hopefully. But we link to the file. Then we go away and get the actual name of the file. And then we switch out the one that we've got. And there we go. And then we make it open in a new window. Good. And then this one here, we link it through to insert, link it through. And once again, we open up a new tab. Right, that's done. And the other thing I was going to do is right underneath this is potentially I have an image, which is brilliant, which I will now try and find. And we're going to put, what are we going to call this image? We're going to call this, what do they call this thingy? Victim claim, according to victim notification system. Let's call it that. All right, that's going to be called a JPEG. I'm just going to see if I can get a better version of this image. 1 second, please, caller. Now, where do we get to? The image. That's it there. And we'll try and go 1 minute, please. Oh, hold it. Save. Does it give me an option? No. Download. Save as. Maybe it does. And that's going to be, I've got 3 screens if you're wondering, one above my head, which you can see I'm looking at, and it's going to be in downloads, and we're going to put that in desktop and save. Alrighty, so what I'd like to do is put a graphic in here, and that upload files, and there's my graphic, and the graphic over here. Oh, please tell me it's not too big. Can't be too big. No, is it really that big? All right, let's try that again. We might have to save it. So let's update that first. All right, let's view that first. Let's get rid of that. So we go down to the bottom of this here. So if anyone wants to have the latest and the greatest information, you can actually see. Here we go. So when I click on that, it should bring up the PDF, testing everything you do, and that does. And also the link. Does that do the same? It does. That's good. And now we're going to edit this. And we're going to go to the bottom of the blog, which is a massive blog. Actually, does it? Yeah, it's nearly 1,800 word count. So it's nearly 20,000 words, which is ridiculous. So now we click here and we should have a nice, here we go, nice clean image, and hopefully that will work. And it did. There we go. Now, I don't even know if we need to give it a name, but let's have a look. Notification victim, notification system. And that's the, and then we'll just put a nice graphic in there that we've had made. We'll actually put that in the center, and there we go. Right. So I think we're basically done. Now that I don't think I'm going to be able to do any better justice reading this in a blog. So I'm actually going to call this one done and dusted. But let's have a look at some of the good stuff that we've got and we've done today. The good thing about the research we've got both these videos, and I'm tempted to actually take these videos and grab them off the internet because technically speaking, knowing how YouTube works, they've insinuated that there is other co-conspirators, but there's been no other filings, which means if somebody decided to, they could literally complain about these videos and say that they are not good. Now, what I am looking at, though, is 503, 155, 268, 311, and 399 views on those videos so far, and they've only been online for 14 hours, and I've been awake ever since. What I would like to do is when you look at my blog, boom, it would be nice for this video to get shared and done. So we've got Daralene here, Christopher Delgado breaks the silence. We debunk his investigative using AI live. So that's the video, and here's the video that we're doing right now. And hopefully you can hear me. There's no sound because I've turned that off, I think. Let's make sure the sound for this video to get shared. Look at that, a bit blurry, but we're doing all right. And now we've got the quote. I'll just stop that. So we've got the money was used to make distributions. We used it for corporate events. We used it for personal spend. We used their funds to keep the company going. Isn't that just incredible? So let's just have a wee look. So for a start, if you want to support me in the work I do, there is a link here, there, Ko-Fi. How do you do that? Ko-Fi, you can touch that, look, touching it. Well, when you go to my website, I have these little booklets called ebooks. So you can go to these ebooks, and when you go to the ebooks, you can learn ways to stop yourself from being scammed, to keep me alive and the wolves knocking from the doors, whatever they want to call it. You can join my YouTube channel. You can become a monthly subscriber if you choose, or you can buy a booklet for $5 and you can share it with anyone that may be looking at investing in a scam. The Investment Scam Survival Guide is a 27-page PDF booklet, and it shows you a lot of tips when identifying things. So last night I was up late and we found another scam coming out, and we've started investigating it, and that's what we do. So if I went to Milanote, which is my database where I keep bits of information, we go home, we click on Ponzi schemes and scams. Currently I've got 238 scams that we've been investigating. One that I just started investigating late last night was this one called Signals. They own a domain name called signals.net. It looks like a flashy website claiming that you can do cut and paste copy trading. I'll do a research on that. So this morning, I was meant to be doing another blog. So if you come to, let's go to my YouTube channel and you click on the live section, you will see all my upcoming lives. So this morning, my this morning, not yours, I was going to do this investigation on One Trade AI, right? And hello, folks. That's me doing my intro. But if you go into the more section, you can go to the blog and go to the bottom of the more section. I always link it back to the blog. We've got this individual, which could, try to sue me or do whatever because I'm naming and shaming him. We've gave him a right of reply. We've noticed that he was promoting at one stage RB Core, whatever scam that's fallen over. And now they've rebranded it to One Trade and they've got exactly the same thing. This was actually, I'm going to fix that in real time because I can. Just don't tell anyone I'm doing this in real time. Is this at 1A trading? Yep. So I need to, because I trashed that video I was going to do and then decided to do this one instead. But tomorrow morning, I will finish that blog off. So I'll put that there. Oops, I haven't got that quite right. There, and update. And I'm just showing, there's a method in my madness. So click refresh. Now, if you're part of my Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, or you're on my LinkedIn, or you're on Twitter, or X, whatever you call them, you'll see that I publish this blog on 6 different platforms. The one I've just done will be too big for a lot of the platforms I share on. Anyway, so this will be the video all about this individual who's promoting this scam. We've even created a song.
They changed the logo. They changed the website.
Yeah, new name, same scam, same game. Anyway, and you can see here, we've even got like things like, if we go here, well here, we've got both of these pitch decks and we've lined them up. Both of them are 12. So we've got the old scam and the new scam. So this is, if it loads, little boy waits. So that's their old scam. And it's basically a 12-page PDF. And when you go through it and look at every page of it, it's basically exactly the same as the new scam. So we've researched it and we realized it's just a continuation of a new scam. So it was like My Liquidity Partners scam. Christopher invested in it, and then Christopher basically copied the scam and reskinned it. And that's what he did with Goliath Ventures. So you can see here, this scam here, that's a new scam, was offering 2% system additional rewards. You come back to this one, and the same scam has also got 2% rewards. So there's always a pattern to everything you do. But ironically, when I published this blog yesterday and did all my research, I found out that Behind MLM had already done an independent review on the first scam, which you can see here. And then today I went there, last night I went there and I realized that he had also updated and done a One Trade review. And you can see the same shit, different day, so to speak, which is quite funny. So I've updated my Behind MLM stuff to link through. So it's really cool that Behind MLM and myself are out there, going through and finding all these scams. And we get, I've got another appointment tomorrow morning with an individual who's been scammed for $98,000. And he's actually paid to talk to me so he can get some advice on what he could or can't do against the individuals, which is quite exciting. So I haven't done my emails yet. It's now 6 o'clock at night. It's dark outside. I've missed the whole day. But that's what we're doing. But what we'd rather do is play Space Invaders and eat fish and chips. We don't want to see other people get hurt like Christopher Delgado has done to other people. But look, the technology we've got now, you've just seen it. So hopefully these videos will remain online. If I had my way about it, I'd probably download them just to be sure. But because they'll be all copyrighted. I won't be able to use them. So hopefully FWTV can keep these videos online, and I'll keep them embedded in my website. I'm lucky that they're allowing people to embed them. Disabled by the viewers, owners to watch. So there you go. They don't want these videos embedded on other people's websites. So I'll have to go through and pick that up and then go to the next one. So there's not much I can do about that. So watch on YouTube. So that's all right. So people can go away.
More. And this is coming from a father who has 3 kids.
Well, that's what I'll do. Oh, a father has got. I wouldn't even admit that I was a father if I was done this. So playback on other websites has been disabled by video owner. So they want you to go off to their YouTube channel and watch it. So it's crazy. But anyway, you'll get the idea. I'm pretty sure most people will figure that out. But anyway, so we've done a lot of work here. We've got photos of Jay Newton. These are people that we hopefully, won't escape what they've done. We've got people like Tomo. I've forgotten who the guy is in the middle there, but I'm not sure anyway. But and then obviously we've got Steve, whatever his name is, Davis. And he's driving around in a McLaren at the moment. I don't know how he actually affords to do that, but I don't know. Would be interesting to know when that photo was taken. So if you want to, you can play these wee games. Like I go down these rabbit holes, so you can get that photo there, and then you can find. Sometimes you can find where these photos were actually originated from just by doing what I just did. Because I don't even know. A lot of my Avengers have found these photos through Instagram and the like. Oh, look at this. They've got similar photos. But you can, I don't know if you can notice this, but you can actually see how you go down these rabbit holes. And it's just like 4 hours later, people go, how come you don't do shorter videos? And I go, wow, I don't know either. I haven't really thought about it. But one day I might do a shorter video, but I do enjoy sitting here working home alone at the moment. But I remember these photos when we got them. They've got Christopher at the front here telling people how to recruit. All these guys are young fellas who don't really know what they're doing, but now probably have ruined their lives by association with the Goliath Ventures. I remember all the photos of them smoking cigars and talking about this alpha male rubbish. It's just absolutely batshit crazy. So, to try to drag Mark into it, he's done more in the community than Christopher would ever dream about, to even allege that, that maybe to allege that Mark's got a hidden agenda. Who knows what he was trying to do that for. But anyway, this blog really well covers everything that was discussed in text. Even if we can't watch these videos while you're sitting here, at least you can see the thumbnail. I just think it's quite funny that they've made it you can't detect it. But remember, you can click watch on YouTube. Part 3, white label strategy finally explained. I mean, absolutely batshit crazy. I actually have an iPhone, so I basically listen to these on the app. You can go to Safari on your iPhone and bring up my website, deheck.com, find this blog, and then you can actually listen to it. I will confirm that these individuals are the correct photos. And then we've got part 3, observations, which is the summary. And these are the people that were used theoretically by Christopher to give advice on investments. And then we got down to part 4, the collapse and the investigation, waiting for the last lifeline. I mean, the fact that he even thought that he had a business is just batshit crazy. The house that became the symbol, which is talking about his 11 square mansion. He was talking and going through that. But since I've done this live, I don't really know whether everything in here is 100% correct at the moment. It doesn't mean it isn't. It just means I'm not sure. Is this number 4, the finale? Finale, taking responsibility or rewriting history. At the end of the day, I failed. I can blame the factor, but I was to see the factor. Am I saying that right? I don't know how that actually sounds.
At the end of the day, I failed. I can blame this factor, that factor, but I was the CEO.
Yep, you were the CEO. So, and I can see that I've got to put bold on that. So now I have to edit that. But yeah, and I've got bold on all these. So that's cool. New mission, final reflections, final observations. And then we got down to the very last paragraph where it says justice continues to move forward. And now you've got the PDF that you can download if you want, the latest filing, and now hopefully it's going to make it a bit better for victims, which we're hoping. So let's just go into that now and let's see if I can fix. I would love that there not to be. Yeah, it's just got to be a little bit of love in there. So 1 minute, please, caller. I'm going to make a P about that. Just got to know how to talk to this HTML stuff. I used to hand code HTML when I was a website developer, which is a little bit, when I started doing website development, I kind of used to cut and paste text. That's how I rolled, cut and paste HTML. So that might have fixed it. It might not have, but let's see if we've got a space. Probably not. Anyway, good enough. And now we just need to tidy up a couple of those other things and we'll be done. And I'll go find myself some dinner and hopefully I'll go to bed in time today and get some more sleep. But that has been a marathon. Thanks for being here with me. I really appreciate the support. I mean that. Don't have to sit here watch me do my work. But it's just been batshit crazy watching those 5 videos come out, and I hope they keep them online. I wouldn't be surprised if they disappear offline, to be honest. There could be enough people complaining. There we go. That needs to be bold. You think I didn't know what I was doing, wouldn't you? Bold. Why does it put them in speech marks? I don't know. But anyway, new mission. Bold. Final reflections. He failed. Final observations. Bold. So, yeah, bold. And I think there's one more. That's a very, very long bold. Justice continues. That's bold. And that's that. So maybe that's the last one. Doubt it. There's going to be more to come. Right. Let's see if we can get that going. We'll hit refresh on these ones. And we'll see if these are all looking more prettier. That is probably the longest blog I've done, actually, but it'll help. So that's nice and bold. I'm checking on my work. Bold, 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 and 1. No, absolutely fantastic, guys. Yeah. Well, thanks, Darlene, for doing that interview, and thanks for letting me scrutinize it. And remember, no scam. No scam, no scam. No scam, no joy. Well, that could no scam, no future. Don't know. Oh, I know one thing we might need. Should we try this for a laugh? Let's go. Do you think we could write some lyrics to tell Chris's story and also give me a style that's going to be very good for this heartbreaking story about the poor little, what do you call the poor little person that couldn't keep the money coming in as the Ponzi scheme unfolded? Let's see what we can come up with. That might be fun. Then I'm going to show you all my secrets. Look, there we go. Christmas story. Couldn't keep the Goliath Ventures Ponzi scheme. Couldn't keep the money coming in as the Goliath Ponzi scheme unfolded. Please use a summary to create the lyrics for my song. All right, let's see what it comes up with. So I'll show you this trick, right? So let's go to here, and there, and little house, the house that other people brought. Dear, is this going to be funny? Let's have a look. The house that little one bought. Oh, let's just go with what it's got. Let's go here. Let's just shut that for now. Let's go create a song, and we will call it a title. The house that other people bought, and then we'll go lyrics. First one. What have we got here? that, and put that up there. Right, could you please also, the style, dark. Oh, let's see what it come up with. And that's how you write a song. And you thought I spent longer doing it than that, don't you? So it'll write me a song while it's there. I'm going to ask it to write me. Do you think you could create me a thumbnail for this song? How about I upload a picture of Chris's house? Okay, so let's put Chris's house in here. Have we got a picture of Chris handy? Ooh, probably not. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we could probably... and we'll put a picture of me in there as well. That one, and also and then I'll tell it the dimensions, which will be prompts, and that'll be that one there. All right, so hopefully now we might have the song to listen to while that's building that. Let's have a listen. The Last Ledger. Let's have a listen.
I was just a dreamer with a plan in my hand, talking about tomorrow, making people understand. Liquidity, blockchain, a future shining bright. But every promise made another sleepless night. They called me a leader, said I looked the part. Nobody could see what was breaking underneath my heart. One more month, one more deal, one more promise that would make it real. I kept the money moving just to keep the dream alive, paying yesterday with tomorrow's sacrifice. Every smiling investor never saw the warning signs. Now all that's left are empty wallets and these guilty eyes. The mansion got bigger.
Well, that's the first version of it. Let's see if there's two versions of it you normally get. Let's see what we got. See what one's better.
I was just a dreamer with a plan in my hand, talking about tomorrow, making people understand. Liquidity, blockchain, future shining bright. But every promise made another sleepless night. They called me a leader, said I looked the part. Nobody could see.
I think I like the first version first. Let's have a listen again. Don't ever think these things. Yes, let's get rid of that one, and we will use that one. You can give it a thumbs up. Now we just need to add artwork.
I was just a dreamer
I was just a dream.
With a plan in my hand.
Plan in my hand.
Talking about tomorrow. Making people understand. Liquidity, blockchain. A future shining bright. But every promise made another sleepless night. They called me a leader, said I looked the part.
Well,
nobody could see.
No more fine dining restaurants. Hey, Chris.
One more month, one more deal, one more promise that would make it real.
The war room.
I kept the money moving just to keep the dream alive. Paying yesterday with tomorrow's sacrifice. Every smiling investor never saw the warning signs. Now all that's left are empty wallets. And these guilty eyes.
The war room.
As the mansion got bigger, the stage lights got bright. Charity dinners underneath the city lights. People trusted confidence, the watch, the suit, the name.
So is that where the world's got to?
Nobody stopped
You know,
asking
it's ridiculous.
where the profits really came.
Crazy. Anyway.
The platform wasn't ready. MLP was gone.
Publish that song, eh?
Still we kept believing we could somehow carry on. Just one launch, one more fun. Surely everything would soon be overcome. I kept the money moving just to keep the dream alive. Paying yesterday with tomorrow.
All right, so let's open up that song. We'll keep that going for a second. We'll go to that.
Just to keep the dream alive. Paying yesterday with tomorrow's sacrifice. Every monthly payment bought another little lie. Now all that's left are broken families. Wondering why.
Thanks, Nev. Nice to have you here, mate. 100%.
They say I wasn't alone. Maybe that's true. There were voices in the boardroom. There were people pulling too.
All right, guys, so that's it. So we've got Darlene Jones' picture here. Christopher Delgado breaks his silence. We debunk his interviews using AI. And that's what we did today, guys. Another story out there. 10 a.m. All right, so now we've now got a song, which we just heard, and the blog is finished. So that's me, guys. I'm thanks, Nev, for being here. I really appreciate you, mate. You are very supportive. That has been one hell of a day for me. All those videos have now been all debunked, all described. Even if they take those videos off, we've now got Christopher's words all been, see, there's still a gap between that and that. Doesn't matter. Anyway, all those videos that have been uploaded by Channel 9 can be removed. We don't need them anymore. We've got the transcript, and the transcript don't lie, does it? Anyway, because I hug. Oh, there's a doggy that wants a hug. He says, "Daddy, I've been for a walk." Oh, you're right. Oh, all right. Oh, he says. Same colour as my beard pixel. Oh, what's this here? My earpiece things that I have in my ears, Pixels decided once to eat them. What are you doing? You all right? think you need a haircut. May need your teeth cleaned. You're not Canberra shy though, are you? Dad's just always working. I think I'm good on camera though, Pigs. Maybe you could be like a YouTube dog. Yeah. All right, put you on my lap. Oh. Sometimes you don't know, but he's sitting on my lap and you can't see him, but he's like heavy. People wonder why Danny's doing that one-handed. All right, guys. Long day, great video. Thank you so much for the support. I've never done an investigation like I have on Christopher. But when you hear statements where he's saying that he was hoping to get a $200 million investor, I mean, I've spoken to a $9 million investor who took all this money out of his business and put it into puppy tax. Took all his money out of his savings, put it into Goliath, and was using the monthly dividends to pay his staff and run his business. It was $9 million. He's lost everything, that guy. Everything he's worked for years and years and years. He's a business guy. It was family money. He's lost everything, and he can't afford to pay his staff. Christopher might sit here and say he's a family man and a good dad, but that doesn't add up. You can't steal $9.5 million from other families, ruin their lives, and, like, it's all very well to say, oh, these people thinking they get, 7%. This is what this guy was getting, I think, 7% return. He was paying out 10 to 12% because even at the very top of the chain, people like Nick Petrillo were getting, $4 million a month. That's what they were claiming. It's just stupid money. They had no ambition to set up a proper company. This wasn't a failed venture. This was literally fraud. It was literally holding a gun to somebody and saying, give me your money, but they didn't know it was a gun. So, it's just the most shockingest stuff you can ever see. Maybe if they got those big investors to scam and it wasn't blown out of the water by our Avengers, maybe the scam could have kept on going for a bit longer. Did Chris, I think Nev said, was Chris upset that he got caught, or he couldn't keep the illusion going any longer? It's unreal. Anyway, that's me. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. I have got an appointment tomorrow, which I have got to check my emails before I have dinner. And then I'm going to go get some sleep. I didn't sleep last night. Sitting here watching Christopher Delgado videos. 5.5 hours of my life I'll never get back. Hopefully you don't do the same. Just read the script. Go get a reader and get my blog written. It's another chapter of the Goliath Ventures book. See you guys in the next video. Thank you, everyone.
I was just a dreamer with a plan in my hand, talking about tomorrow, making people understand. Liquidity, blockchain, a future shining bright. But every promise made another sleepless night. They called me a leader, said I looked the part. Nobody could see what was breaking underneath my heart. One more month, one more deal, one more promise that would make it real. I kept the money moving just to keep the dream alive, paying yesterday with tomorrow's sacrifice. Every smiling investor never saw the warning signs. Now all that's left are empty walls. guilty eyes. The mansion got bigger, the stage lights got bright, charity dinners underneath the city lights. People trusted confidence, the watch, the suit, the name. Nobody stopped asking where the profits really came. The platform wasn't ready, MLP was gone. Still we kept believing we could somehow carry on. Just one launch, one more fun, surely everything would soon be overcome. I kept the money moving just to keep the dream alive, paying yesterday with tomorrow's sacrifice. Every monthly payment bought another little lie. Now all that's left are broken families, wondering why. They say I wasn't alone, maybe that's true. There were voices in the boardroom, there were people pulling too. But when the lights went dark and the headlines filled the sky, the only name they remembered was mine. You can't build forever on money coming in. Every borrowed dollar has a place it's been. More than 1,000 voices, 250 million gone. Justice doesn't move quickly, but it keeps moving on. No software, no miracle, no billionaire walking through the door. Just victims waiting for answers forevermore.